Chapter 2073. Chen Shuryan was the first to go into the gate. The rest of the 9 Heavens Supremes were about to make their move when 2 figures suddenly appeared from the rift in the distance. They led the 9 Heavens Supremes into the gate like 2 rivers. Chao Ling and Xiang Han? They are here too? The eyes of Taoist Qianlong, holy monk Wang Jin, Zheng Weiyuan, Han Qiuying, and the rest flickered with astonishment. Chao Ling and Xiang Han were the 85th saint of the Mumen sect and the 87th saint of the Sherdao tribe respectively. Even though they were not ranked on the supreme leaderboard, they were definitely the strongest 9 Heavens Supremes in the Tao-seeking land. Besides, their experience was a lot higher than Zheng Weiyuan, Han Qiuying, and the others. They had accumulated a terrifying amount of resources. The Sherdao tribe is here too? Zhuang Nan and Supreme South World grinned. Who in the 9 Heavens Immortal Realm did not know the Sherdao tribe was treating Qin Nan as a traitor? Following which, the various major powers and the rogue cultivators entered the gate one after another. Zhuang Nan felt his surroundings changing. A few moments later, he, Supreme South World, and the others found themselves on an ancient battlefield. They were not scattered randomly after entering the land of the duo. The 9 Heavens Supremes had gathered together. Not far in front of them were the legendary 30 great divine priests. The peak 9 Heavens Supremes scanned their surroundings and observed the battlefield. Zhuang Nan and Li Chongxing exchanged glances with one another and nodded. Supreme South World and the disciple of the Li clan secretly executed their move. Even though they had confirmed the rough location of Qin Nan and the others, they still wanted to confirm it just in case. Welcome to the land of the duo, fellow cultivators. As if they had sensed that the last prime martial artist had come to this battlefield, the 30 great divine priests spoke at the same time. Their voices overlapped and attracted everyone's attention. The rules of the land of the duo would change every time. The 2 bodies of the Masters of Tao would be located at different locations each time. As such, the sacred priests would tell the crowd some clues. For example, the last time the land of the duo was opened, the clue was a riddle. The land of the duo will have 3 Xian lakes, 1 dragon phoenix immortal tree, 3 quasi-master trees, 7 godless trees, 11 heaven essence trees, 2 Tao peaking flowers, 3 8 trigrams heavenly flowers, 6 immortal debate flowers, and 15 jade supreme flowers. The eyes of the 9 Heavens Supremes flickered with astonishment and passion when they heard the sacred priest's words. Even Zhuang Nan and Supreme South World were startled. Lake Xian, Dragon Phoenix Immortal Tree, Quasi-Master Tree, Tao Prying Flower, 8 trigrams Heavenly Flower. Even though the natural resources were not listed as a mortal blessing, they were unique to the Tao-seeking land. They would provide great benefits after refining them. The natural resources alone were comparable to the fortunate encounters found on the 3rd floor of the 3 Moons Pagoda. On top of that, there's also the mountain spirit of Jepu Mountain, the mountain spirit of Mount Shuhuan, the mountain spirit of Mount Jiashanwen, 10 bodies of peak 9 Heavens Supremes, 16 bodies of 9 Heavens Supremes in the Greater Success stage, 28 bodies of 9 Heavens Supremes in the early stage, the Land of Mist that's 10 zhang wide, the Land of Immortal Seeking that's 30 zhang wide, and the Land of Crimson Dragons that's 100 zhang wide. The 30 sacred priests did not stop there. Their voices clearly entered the ears of the 9 Heavens Supremes. The 9 Heavens Supremes were dumbfounded. What's going on? Why are there so many treasures in the land of the duo? Some of the 9 Heavens Supremes had been to the land of the duo before, yet the number of fortunate encounters they had in the past 2 times combined was not as many as this one. Holy crap! Zhuang Nan could not help but curse in disbelief. Is this the land of the duo, or is it a land of exceptional treasures? He suddenly felt a little envious of Qin Nan. Qin Nan and the others must have found a lot of treasures since they had already entered the land of the duo. Ha ha, it seems like I have a chance to achieve the peak 9 Heavens Supreme realm. When the 9 Heavens Supremes collected their thoughts, their eyes flickered with excitement. They had made the right choice by coming here. However, as a friendly reminder, the treasures have all been taken away by someone else. There was a rare trace of pity in the tone of the 30 great divine priests. Pooh! Meng Langtian, who was sipping on the immortal tea, spat out the tea in his mouth. The expressions of the 9 heavens supremes froze. You've been talking for so long, yet someone has already taken everything? Are you toying with us? A 9 heavens supreme in the greater success stage yelled furiously. The 30 great divine priests rolled their eyes at the same time. They would not bother talking if it wasn't for the rules. Besides, for some reason, the man and the 2 women were able to make the natural resources that were supposed to show up the next time the land of the duo was activated. The sacred priests were quite frustrated that the land of the duo would not have any natural resources when it was activated next time. They suddenly recalled something. They said, "Oh, we've remembered wrongly. There are still 3 bodies in the early stage of the 9 heavens supreme realm that haven't been taken away. They are around 1,000 li to the east." Many of the 9 heavens supremes almost vomited blood upon hearing the words. What was the point of having 3 bodies in the early stage of the 9 heavens supreme realm? Who among the people that dared to enter the land of the duo was not in the early stage of the 9 heavens supreme realm? Tsk Qin Nan, how bold of you, Qin Nan. Zhuang Nan chuckled as he collected his thoughts. Qin Nan, that's right, he must have done it. Ha ha, how dare you take away so many treasures in one go? This Qin Nan is too full of himself. Does he really think he can do whatever he wants just because of his identity in his past life? The rest of the 9 heavens supremes collected their thoughts. Many of their eyes flickered with anger, but most of them had a murderous look in their eyes. Without being exaggerating, Qin Nan and his crew had offended every 9 heavens supreme at the scene. Zhuang Nan, Supreme South World, Li Changtsuan, Taoist Qianlong, Holy Monk Wangjin, Supreme Wanqing, and the factions that were enemies of Qin Nan chuckled coldly. However, the eyes of Chao Ling, the saint of the Mumen sect, and Xiang Han of the Sherdao tribe glittered. Not only that, Chen Shuryan, who stood alone in front of all the cultivators, slowly curled up the corners of his mouth. That was interesting. Chapter 2074. Fellow cultivators, let's talk about the bodies of the masters of Tao. The 30 sacred priests said sternly. The crowd immediately fell silent. Many of the 9 heavens supremes withheld their anger. The tombs of the masters of Tao have yet to be opened, so everything in the tombs, including the bodies of the masters of Tao, has yet to be claimed. The 30 sacred priests said, the tombs of the masters of Tao are located on the east and west sides of the battlefield. The tombs contain the half-Tao weapons, master arts, arts of Tao seeking, and other precious resources that the 2 masters of Tao possessed. There are also soul howl immortal jades in the tombs. There are 15 in the tomb in the east, but only 9 in the tomb in the west. The 30 sacred priests added after a brief pause, those who claim the soul howl immortal jades will have a chance to claim the bodies of the masters of Tao. Only those who claim all 24 soul howl immortal jades and insert their supreme force will be able to open the entrance and enter the tombs of the masters of Tao. At this point, the 30 great divine priests did not forget to add, normally, we great divine priests are not allowed to reveal the whereabouts of any cultivators. However, this time, there are 3 people who entered ahead of time. Their behavior is rather bad, so we kindly remind them that the 3 of them are currently outside the main tomb in the east. After that, the depression that had accumulated in the chests of the 30 great divine priests eased quite a bit, and they floated away. The tombs in the east? Let's go. It's a chance to. If we can kill Qin Nan, everything he has will be ours. Qin Nan's whereabouts have been exposed. The other factions have their own plans. We should observe him first before making our move when we find Qin Nan. The ancient Bodhi Temple, Extreme Living Gate, 10 Desires Sect, the supreme Taoism factions, the primordial tribes, the Heaven Highness clans, many rogue cultivators, Zhuang Nan, Supreme South World, Li Chongqing, and the others immediately made their move. They headed east with tremendous auras. That being said, many factions and rogue cultivators flew to the west too. Although they were very unhappy with Qin Nan, and even regarded Qin Nan as their mortal enemy, the most important thing right now was to obtain the various inheritances in the main tomb and the Soul Howl Immortal Jade. Thus, the strangest scene in the history of the land of the duo appeared. In the past, countless cultivators would come to the ancient battlefield every time it opened, but this time, not a single cultivator stayed. Time passed. 8 hours later, at the eastern end of the land of the duo, an enormous tomb built with countless soul-sealing rocks rose from the ground. It was emitting a faint glow with wisps of the aura of the Master Realm. It had a formidable aura. Currently, Qin Nan and the others were sitting cross-legged in front of the tomb, absorbing immortal qi. They were having a great time looting the place. The power of the two seeds had triggered a series of rare phenomena. Princess Miao Miao's soulless flesh happened to be able to sense the locations of the resources, saving them a lot of trouble. Even so, it took them 22 hours to finish looting the place. They finally arrived at the tomb and began refining the resources to cultivate while waiting patiently. On top of that, if the 30 sacred priests did not turn their threats into pleas, Princess Miao Miao would not let go of the corpses of the 3 Nine Heavens Supremes in the early stage. A mosquito's legs might be small, but they were still meat. Are they here? Qin Nan and the others opened their eyes when they sensed something. The first person to appear before his eyes was Chen Shuryan. The overwhelming and imperious saber intent caused the white flames in his eyes to flicker. The heaven-shattering saber beside him let out a buzz, as if it was very interested in Chen Shuryan. Chen Shuryan seemed to be trying to say something, yet before he could speak, a burst of laughter exploded between the heavens and earth. Ha ha ha, Qin Nan, where are you going to run to this time? It was Zhuang Nan, Supreme South World, Li Chongqing, and the others. So you're Qin Nan? Taoist Qianlong, Holy Monk Wang Jin, and Supreme Wan Qing were here too. They ignored Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan and fixed their eyes on Qin Nan. The first two had cold looks in their eyes, but the latter looked very excited as if she had just found a rare prey. In addition to them, the saints and saintesses of the 7 Heaven Highness clans, the saints of the Mumen sect and the Sherdao tribe, and many other factions were here too. There were many Peak 9 Heavens Supremes rogue cultivators too. Qin Nan quickly scanned the crowd. He was startled when he saw Meng Jingxian and Meng Langtian. There were familiar faces here. A shocking lineup surrounded Qin Nan and his crew. The main tomb behind Qin Nan and his crew seemed to have sensed something too. The door slowly opened with a deep rumble. It was the handiwork of the 30 sacred priests. They were left with no choice. If they did not delay the opening of the main tomb, it was very likely that the tomb would be emptied. Qin Nan, the Mumen sect, the Zheng clan, and the Han clan are not hostile toward you. We would like to work with you on something. If Zhuang Nan and the others make a move, we will protect you in the dark. Let's have a talk after you achieve the Master Realm or leave the Tao-seeking land. A voice suddenly entered Qin Nan's divine sense. It was from the saint of the Mumen sect, Chao Ling. The saint of the Zheng clan, Zheng Weiyuan, and the saintess of the Han clan, Han Qiuying, both smiled at him. It was obvious what they were trying to say. Qin Nan was startled. What did the 3 factions want to talk to him about? However, Qin Nan was not stupid. The only thing that the 3 factions were interested in was the divine battle spirit and the fact that he was Zhou Zhao's reincarnation. The latter was more likely to be a factor. Qin Nan Zhuang Nan, Supreme South World, the Peak 9 Heavens Supremes, Li Chongqing, and Taoist Qianlong unleashed their auras. They were about to make their move. Wait! Qin Nan suddenly let out a roar. Zhuang Nan and the others were startled. Fellow cultivators, if anyone is willing to lend me a hand and help me enter the place where the two masters are, I won't have to risk my life. Once it's done, I'll give you a heaven primary tree, a jade highness flower, and the body of a 9 heavens supreme in the greater success stage. Qin Nan blurted out. The rogue cultivators wore disdainful looks upon hearing the words. Did he seriously think they would go against him with such little things? On top of that, I'll give you a sky moon god herb and a 3-lined flawless pill. Chapter 2075. Enough with the bullshit. Zhuang Nan, Li Changxing, and the Peak 9 Heavens Supremes immediately executed their Tao art. Fellow cultivators, please calm down. Following a loud roar, 13 figures flew up to Qin Nan and nullified the Tao arts one after another. Let's go too. When the other rogue cultivators saw this, they stopped hesitating and flew over. In just 2 breaths' time, 36 people had sided with Qin Nan. Half of them were Peak 9 Heavens Supremes, and the other half were 9 Heavens Supremes in the greater success stage. Yu Zhuang Nan, Li Changxing, Supreme South World, and the others were enraged. They had finally found Qin Nan, yet these people were messing with their plan again. Fellow cultivators, Qin Nan is someone we must kill. If you stand on his side, you are going against us. Besides, if you don't interfere, I'll give you. Zhuang Nan withheld his anger. However, before he could finish his sentence, Jiang Bailan chuckled softly and said, We'll add another 3 yuan 0 pills each. Princess Miao Miao raised her chin too. I'll give each of you a stalk of yin and yang polymerizing grass and 2 seeds of the immortal transcending tree. The fact that the 3 of them dared to openly wait for the main tomb to open despite knowing the situation clearly showed that they had no other trump cards. They were simply filthy rich. The rogue cultivators were startled. A Peak 9 Heavens Supreme looked at Zhuang Nan and the others and said righteously, Fellow cultivators, I know what you're thinking, but why are you in such a rush? We won't interfere once we reach the place where the bodies of the masters of Tao are. You can do whatever you want. That way, no one will stop you. They were willing to help Qin Nan not only because they had enough resources, but also because they had a backup plan. If they were to continue to protect Qin Nan, the authorities would surely treat them as their enemies, thus it would not be worth it. On top of that, once they arrived at the place where the bodies of the Masters of Duo were located, they would compete for the loot. Qin Nan's loot was not worth mentioning at all. After all, the blood, eyes, fingers, and everything else of a Master of Tao were extraordinary. The will of the Master Realm was exactly what they needed. Yu Zhuang Nan was enraged. However, before he could finish, Supreme South World patted him on the shoulder and looked at Qin Nan coldly. Let's see how long you can last if you insist on wasting time. He wanted to get rid of Qin Nan once and for all, but Taoist Qianlong, Supreme Wangjin, and Supreme Wanqing had no choice but to stop when the rogue cultivators joined the fray. Li Changxing frowned too. He was not willing to force his way in. If they were the only ones going forward, both sides were going to suffer great losses. It was hard to tell what would happen in the end under such a complicated situation. Ha ha ha, kid, you're pretty bold. You're just like me in the past. Meng Langtian burst out laughing. He was trying to flatter himself. Qin Nan's lips twisted, but he still brought his fists together. The 9 Palace Golden Immortal Sect was the only 9 Palace Golden Immortal Sect that he had a good impression of. After all, Meng Jiugong had helped him a lot in the first sacred area. He still owed him a favor. At this moment, the door of the main tomb was completely opened with a bang. An extremely powerful aura surged out, causing the hearts of all the cultivators to tremble slightly. Time to enter the tomb. Everyone made their move. Qin Nan executed the sky-stride blow and led the way into the tomb with the 2 women. The tomb was no different from the tombs they had entered before. The walls were engraved with ancient patterns, and there were many stone statues in the middle, emitting a cold aura. Behind them were jade coffins, a total of 6 of them, with ancient seals on them. At the end of the tomb was a purple coffin over 5 zhang long floating upside down in the air. There was a saber, a sword, a halberd, and a fan on both sides. Every 9 heavens supreme could sense a formidable power that was in a deep slumber. A half-Dao seeking weapon. Many people's eyes flickered passionately. Chen Shuryan fixed his eyes on the saber too. A half-Dao seeking weapon was not necessarily a peerless artifact for people like them, but a half-Dao seeking weapon that an expert in the Master Realm had used for many years was different. The saber was imbued with the will of the Master Realm, thus it was significantly stronger than other half-Dao seeking weapons. Where are the coffins when the corpse isn't even here? Taoist Qianlong harumphed coldly. He flung his sleeves and fired 7 blinding rays at the coffins. The statues at the center of the tomb were startled by the aura, causing them to awaken and emit strong murderous auras. The ground, the walls, and the ceiling of the tomb were activated with formations and forbidding auras. It felt like the tomb had turned into a deadly trap. Bang bang bang. Following that, a series of explosions rang out. First, it was the 6 jade coffins. After they shattered, waves of Dao will and wisps of wool rose up. Jade slips, scriptures, and stone tablets appeared before everyone's eyes. They were the Dao arts and master arts that the Master Realm expert had learned when he was still alive. Lastly, the purple coffin scattered purple light dots after it broke into pieces. Immortal jades around the size of a palm with the pattern of an immortal wolf howling at the moon floated in the air. Soul howl immortal jades? Everyone's eyes glittered. Following this, several shocking auras exploded, causing the main tomb to tremble violently, as if it could not withstand the pressure and would be shattered into pieces. Sky stride blow. Qin Nan's eyes burst into white flames. He executed the 12 arts of Dao seeking in his body and brought the 2 women to a spot not far away from the soul howl immortal jade. Even though they did not listen to the explanation of the 30 sacred priests since they were outside the tomb, they had learned the rules earlier than the 9 heavens supremes under the threat of the sacred priests. The 3 of them had a thorough discussion. The situation was extremely dangerous. A single misstep would put them in grave danger. They had split the plan into 3 parts. First, they would enter the tomb. Second, they would obtain the soul howl immortal jade. If they could recruit enough rogue cultivators during the time they were in the tomb, Zhuang Nan and the other factions would stop moving forward. Chapter 2076. Holy monk Wang Jin had set his eyes on Qin Nan. He uttered a chant and shoved his hand forward. A tremendous aura of Buddhism poured down on Qin Nan like an ancient mountain range. Qin Nan looked up. He gathered the will of the 12 arts of Dao seeking on the heaven-shattering saber and slashed forward. Humph, old bald donkey, what did you say? Princess Miao Miao was displeased by the words. She immediately unleashed the full potential of the soulless flesh and activated the formation of eternity with Jiang Bailan to encapsulate holy monk Wang Jin. The rogue cultivators who were on Qin Nan's side had no intention of interfering. They only wanted to help Qin Nan and his crew enter the place where the bodies of the 2 masters of Dao were. They were not obliged to help Qin Nan no matter what happened. They just wanted to make sure Qin Nan and his crew were not killed in the end. Sure. The eyes of Zhuang Nan, Supreme South World, Li Changchun, and the Peak 9 Heavens Supremes glittered. They kept an eye on the battle while participating in the contest. They were prepared to use their strongest moves to eliminate Qin Nan when the time was right. Bright Tathagata Seal. Holy monk Wang Jin's Bodhi force was boundless. He dodged the formation of eternity and shoved his hand forward. A giant Bodhi palm appeared and encapsulated Qin Nan and his crew. The patriarch of the ancient Bodhi temple is as impressive as the rumors say. Qin Nan sensed the overwhelming pressure. He immediately activated his divine sense. Bang! The Dao diagram appeared out of nowhere with boundless energy. It directly destroyed the Buddhist seal and turned it into nothingness. Qin Nan could not afford to hold back when he was fighting a peak 9 heavens supreme like holy monk Wang Jin. The move immediately grabbed the attention of the crowd in the tomb. Many people's hearts were shaken. No matter what, they had to admit that Qin Nan's battle prowess was too heaven-defying. Is this a Tao pattern that has merged all the will of Tao seeking and his own will? Chen Shuryen observed carefully as he sent out a majestic saber intent. An invisible flame burned in his eyes, growing stronger and stronger. What an extraordinary Tao! I wonder if his painting or my saber of heart and soul is stronger. He had always had a problem, and that was, as long as he encountered those with heaven-defying combat strength or those who had embarked on the extraordinary path, he would definitely fight with them to determine who was better. Furthermore, he would be suppressing his cultivation and not using any of his trump cards in a fair battle. Most importantly, he did not necessarily seek victory. As long as he competed, regardless of whether he won or lost, he would feel carefree. There was an indescribable sense of joy that even the combination of yin and yang could not compare to. As such, he had never treated the saints, saintesses, those on the supreme leaderboard, and even the masters of Tao seriously. It was not because he was being arrogant, but he only cared about the people he approved of. Qin Nan was one of them. Cultivator Qin Nan, you indeed have the root of wisdom. You were born to be a Buddhist. Holy monk Wang Jin was not surprised. The glow in his eyes grew even brighter as if he had found his prey, the statue of the sacred Buddha. He placed his palms together and performed a mysterious Buddhist seal. In the blink of an eye, the entire great tomb was illuminated with a golden hue. It was as if the top of the tomb no longer existed, turning into a world of Buddhism. At the end of the Bodhi realm was an illusionary figure of a Buddha sitting on a lotus platform. He was holding prayer beads and uttering Bodhi scriptures. The other 9 heavens supremes nearby could not hear anything, but Qin Nan and his crew felt like they were hearing a series of claps of thunder. They were growing louder too. Where the painting is, all rules will cease to exist. Qin Nan was engulfed in a Tao glow. His blue-red hair drifted in the wind. The Tao pattern suddenly emitted 12 tremendous glows like 12 peerless swords, shattering the Bodhi figures, Bodhi glows, and everything else into pieces. A strange sight took place. The Bodhi glow, the Bodhi figure, and the rest of the Bodhi glow rapidly recovered after they were shattered. It was as if what Qin Nan had destroyed was just an illusion. Cultivator Qin Nan, there's no need to struggle anymore. Lay down your weapon and convert to Buddhism. You will surely be able to become a Buddha and enlighten the 9 heavens. Holy monk Wang Jin was already sitting on the ground with his legs crossed. A Bodhi tree was floating behind him. Every word he uttered was magnified countless times. It entered Qin Nan's ears, heart, and soul. The statue of the Bodhi was the Tao pattern that trapped Qin Nan with the wrath of the guardian deity. He was currently executing the Bodhi heart summoning art. The voice he uttered turned into the voice of Bodhi to awaken the Bodhi nature in his target's heart. No matter how strong a person was, they would still have a hint of Bodhi nature in their heart apart from the demon in them. Once this sliver of Buddha nature was awakened, the Bodhi all-life art would be used to expand the Buddha nature continuously. Holy monk Wang Jin knew it was impossible to convince Qin Nan to convert to Buddhism. He could only plant the seed of Bodhi in Qin Nan's heart and let it grow on its own. It would surely break out of its shell and turn into a Bodhi one day. Wisdom root? Convert? Say, Holy monk Wang Jin, you are the patriarch of the ancient Bodhi temple. Don't you know it's inside my body? Qin Nan let out a hollow laugh. An ancient blue glow flickered as the divine battle spirit emerged from the ground. The Bodhi glow and the statue dimmed. Only Qin Nan was left standing between the heavens and earth. What right do you have to turn me into a Buddha? The divine battle spirit unleashed an ancient aura upon hearing the words. A terrifying will surged across the tomb like a calamity. Even the will of the Master Realm on the main tomb, the half-Tao weapons, Tao arts, and Master arts were eclipsed by the presence of the Master Realm. The fifth immortal. The hearts of the 9 heavens supremes skipped a beat. The eyes of the people of the Sherdao tribe glittered, especially those of the Sherdao tribe. Legend has it that the god of battle, Xiang Zun, was the most special among the 10 immortals. He was also known as the strongest master of the 9 heavens during the ancient era. Today, I believe you and Xiang Zun were born to be Buddhas. Chapter 2077. Normally, a peak 9 heavens supreme could only utilize the full potential of a half-Tao seeking weapon. However, someone like Holy Monk Wangjin could only use 3 of them at once. Among the 3 half-Tao seeking weapons, one of them was the Golden Monk Staff. It unleashed a peerless demon-subduing art under Holy Monk Wangjin's control. It was imperious, like the power of the 9 heavens. The other 2 half-Tao seeking weapons targeted Qin Nan's mind and soul. It felt like a bodhisattva was inside each of the prayer beads. The wooden fish buzzed and made a strange sound. Such terrifying strength! The 9 heavens supremes who were competing for the Soul Howl Immortal Jades were startled. This was especially so for those supremes in the greater success stage and initial stage. Their palms were slightly sweating. If it were them, they would inevitably be implanted by this bald donkey. In the future, when they grew stronger, they would convert to Buddhism. Break! Qin Nan remained as still as a mountain, facing the attack head-on. The Tao pattern buzzed softly. Its aura rose once again. The figure sitting with his legs crossed in the pattern rose to his feet and threw a punch forward. The Bodhi glow, Bodhi intent, Bodhi chance, and the demon-subduing art collapsed instantly. Qin Nan immediately executed the unstoppable step. He moved rapidly and slashed forward with his saber. 3 formidable saber intents landed on the 3 Tao-seeking weapons. He was holding back? Holy Monk Wangjin's eyes widened. He quickly performed a hand seal. Bodhi of the terminating ground, the existence of the Tao of Buddhism. The Bodhi glow, Bodhi intent, and Bodhi voice appeared once again and merged with one another. It was like an ancient lake had turned into a single drop of water. It ignored the Tao pattern and attacked Qin Nan's mind and soul. He had used the Bodhi heart-returning art in advance. Meanwhile, Supreme Wanqing, who was fighting Zheng Yuan, grinned. She performed a strange hand seal with her left hand. Ripples appeared around Qin Nan and Holy Monk Wangjin. An invisible force that was on par with the Bodhi heart-returning art was attacking Qin Nan's mind and soul too. It turned out that from the very beginning, the headmaster of the 10 Desires sect had been quietly making arrangements. Merely, her methods were much more mysterious. What she released was a sort of desire. Essentially, it was an ethereal and invisible power. Because of that, the surrounding crowd did not notice it at all. The eyes of Zhuangnan, Li Changxing, Supreme South World, and the Peak 9 Heavens Supremes who were watching the battle glittered. They were ready to unleash their supreme force. The rogue cultivators were doing the same too. They were ready to make a move if Qin Nan was in danger. It all happened in the nick of time. When the 2 Peak 9 Heavens Supremes attacks were about to land on Qin Nan, the soul behind Qin Nan seemed to have woken up from hell. Its battle intent and aura skyrocketed to a terrifying level. Bang! A strong gust of wind surged forward. The rest of the 9 Heavens Supremes were startled. Holy Monk Wangjin and Supreme Wanqing were startled too. They quickly backed away and executed ancient Tao arts to nullify the force of the impact. Meanwhile, the hand seals that Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan were performing suddenly shifted. The formation of eternity that they had just established suddenly appeared on a Soul Howl Immortal Jade and dragged the Peak 9 Heavens Supremes into it. Hee, it's mine. Princess Miao Miao grinned. They had already set up a trap when Qin Nan and Holy Monk Wangjin were keeping everyone busy. However, the situation was too complicated. There were quite a number of Peak 9 Heavens Supremes, so they could only secure one of them. Damn it! Zhuang Nan's expression was ugly, unhappy, and slightly envious. It could be said that he was extremely unhappy. Needless to say, he was displeased by the sight of it. What he was envious of was that Qin Nan possessed a complete divine battle spirit, and that it was so powerful. In some ways, only those who had reached the limit of the ruler realm would be able to threaten Qin Nan's mind and soul. The fact alone was enough to prevent Qin Nan from being in a lot of danger. The fifth immortal indeed lives up to his name. Supreme Wanqing wore a faint smile, as if she was not too bothered by her failure to ambush Qin Nan. Holy monk Wang Jin did not speak. His eyes did not show any hint of worry or fear. Instead, they were filled with excitement. He was not trying to plant a Bodhi intent in Qin Nan's heart, or even a Bodhi seed. He was more interested in probing the divine battle spirit's strength. It's so powerful, it's more interesting to break through it. Holy monk Wang Jin withdrew his thoughts and chanted a chant. He started competing for the Soul Howl Immortal Jade. With this, the area around the three of them immediately became quiet. Zhuang Nan and the others knew they had lost their chance. They did not waste any more time and joined the battle. Xiao Lanlan, let's search for the treasure here. Princess Miao Miao's eyes glittered. She was totally unaware of the situation they were in. Qin Nan did not stop them. They had already secured a Soul Howl Immortal Jade. With the help of the rogue cultivators, they would not be in any danger until they reached the place where the two corpses were. Qin Nan was no longer interested in the treasure. He focused on the battle between the Peak 9 Heavens Supremes. He had already learned a thing or two from the battle against Holy Monk Wang Jin and Supreme Wanqing. If he were to continue watching the battle, he might be able to learn their Dao arts secretly. Even though Qin Nan had practiced 12 Dao arts, he had only mastered a few Dao arts. He had yet to fully utilize the power of the 12 Dao arts. This battle lasted for a full 2 hours before it could be considered to have come to an end. Chen Shuryan, Daoist Qianlong, and the others on the Supreme Leaderboard had secured the Soul Howl Immortal Jade. Meng Langtian had won too. Chao Ling and Xiang Han had won too. The rest were taken by the Peak 9 Heavens Supremes. Even though the two women did not secure a lot of Soul Howl Immortal Jades, Princess Miao Miao was overjoyed. She started humming a tune. Qin Nan slowly closed his eyes. A few moments later, they sprang open with glittering eyes. He had mastered the Bodhi heart calling and the art of all living beings. Chapter 2078. Fellow cultivators, you have my thanks. He immediately gave the loot to the rogue cultivators before they entered the place. Meng Langtian was envious, but luckily, Meng Jingxian was well aware of his father's shamelessness. He quickly stopped his father from doing it, just so he would not embarrass himself. You haven't even done anything yet, and you're already asking for payment? Fellow cultivators, we're done here. Let's insert a wisp of supreme force into the jade. A deep voice came from the Soul Howl Immortal Jade. The 24 Soul Howl Immortal Jades were connected to one another, allowing them to transmit their voices. Chen Shuryan and the others did not waste any time. They immediately inserted their forces into the jade. Brother Nan, we'll relocate as soon as we arrive and make our move. I don't care what's going on there, we have to stir up a huge mess. Jiang Bailan transmitted her voice with a solemn look in her eyes. During those 2 days of unbridled plundering, she had unknowingly changed the way she addressed herself. Xiao Nanzi, don't panic, I've got your back. Princess Miao Miao said softly. Qin Nan nodded calmly. He inserted his supreme force into the jade. At that instant, each of the Soul Howl Immortal Jades emitted a brilliant immortal glow. It burst out of the tomb and soared into the sky, merging with a certain spot. Following it, Qin Nan felt everything before them crumbling as a magnificent door appeared out of nowhere and sucked them into it. A few moments later, Qin Nan felt his figure shuddering as he found himself somewhere else. He didn't even have the time to observe when he suddenly sensed two extremely shocking pressures emanating from not too far ahead of him, and it caused his body to instinctively tense up while a slight fluctuation arose in his heart. The auras were different from the auras of the divine battle spirit. They did not feel ancient but imperious, as if everything in the world would submit to them. Bang! Meanwhile, several murderous auras sprang into the sky and locked onto Qin Nan's figure. Sky stride blow. Qin Nan was already prepared. He unleashed the Dao diagram and enveloped Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan. He suddenly vanished on the spot and appeared in front of them. Dao jolting saber art. Qin Nan executed the 12 arts of Dao seeking in his body. He unleashed over 10,000 saber intents within an instant. Bang bang bang! A series of explosions took place. Qin Nan kept unleashing saber intents at the two corpses of the masters of Dao and the others in all directions. His face, Princess Miao Miao, and Jiang Bailan straightened as they sensed their surroundings. Although Chao Ling, Zheng Wuyuan, and Han Qiuying, these three major powers, had hinted to him, Qin Nan couldn't possibly place his hopes on them. It would be best if, as they thought, a great chaos was triggered. Nothing happened? Qin Nan's heart sank. The two corpses were like ancient mountains. His saber intents could not move them at all. They did not trigger any traps or forbidding auras either. Ha ha ha, Qin Nan, do you think we don't know what you're planning? You might not know, but the corpses of the two masters of Dao are never protected by any forbidding auras. It's only a fight. Zhuang Nan burst out laughing. He, Supreme South World, Li Changxing, and the rest of the Peak Nine Heavens Supremes turned into rays of light and charged at Qin Nan. Daoist Qianlong, Holy Monk Wang Jin, and Supreme Wanqing did not expect Qin Nan to do this. They were startled for a moment. They finally collected their thoughts and unleashed shocking auras. There were more than 30 Peak Nine Heavens Supremes trying to kill Qin Nan. However, it was at this moment that a series of SISIS sounds could be heard. Furthermore, it was the kind where thousands of SISIS sounds gathered together and overlapped. Qin Nan, Zhuang Nan, Li Changxing, Supreme South World, and the others felt a great chill running down their spines. They immediately sensed a great danger. They had no choice but to withdraw from the Dao arts they were executing. Void Master Insects. What's going on? Why are there so many Void Master Insects? The Nine Heavens Supremes were startled. Even saints like Chen Shuryen and Han Qiuying, and patriarchs like Daoist Qianlong were startled. Void Master Insects? Qin Nan was overjoyed. He quickly activated the immortal eyes of the divine god of battle. They were currently in a valley with a circumference of a few 100,000 li. There was no sign of the sun, moon, or stars in the sky. The whole place was pitch black. They could vaguely see the silhouettes of immortal mountains in the distance. Not far from Qin Nan were two corpses over 100,000 zhang long and 30,000 zhang wide floating in the air. They did not show any sign of life. Their auras were as still as an ocean. At this time, countless ancient insects that were about 1.5 feet tall and 1.5 feet long crawled out of the two corpses. They had 3 scarlet tails that were full of sharp thorns, and silver scales that looked like blades all over their bodies. Their eyes were like inverted vertical slits. In just less than a breath's time, the place was densely packed like a long river. New Void Master insects kept crawling out of the corpses, as if they would never stop. The eyes of the Void Master bugs reddened when they saw the cultivators. A shocking murderous aura burst out from them. The 8 horns that were waving in the air suddenly sped up and charged at the 9 Heavens Supremes with a pair of sharp fangs. They were as quick as lightning. Each Void Master insect seemed to be born with some kind of destructive power. It was strong enough to injure ordinary 9 Heavens Supremes in the early stage. It would not be a problem if there were hundreds or thousands of them, but there were just too many of them. They were like an unstoppable army. Even the peak 9 Heavens Supremes would not dare to face them head-on. Damn! The faces of Zhuangnan, Li Chongqing, Supreme South World, and the others turned pale. Wasn't there supposed to be no danger in this place? Furthermore, it's one thing if you want to kill me, but why do you have to do it this time? Haha, little worm, nice one. Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan flew out of the Dao pattern. The former was overjoyed when she saw the Void Master insects. She would have fed them some natural resources if the Void Master insects were not so ugly. The 9 Heavens Supremes twisted their lips upon hearing the words. They were most likely the happiest to see the Void Master insects coming. However, no one noticed that Li Chongqing was overjoyed when he realized they might not be able to kill Qin Nan in a short time. He was so focused on killing Qin Nan that he did not pay attention to anything else. However, he was immediately attracted by the corpse on the right when the Void Master insects showed up. Chapter 2079. Art of Taiyin. Qin Nan soon calmed his thoughts and executed a Dao art. Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan stood on his left and right respectively to set up formations. The Void Master bugs had temporarily resolved their crisis. They had to clear a path through the tide of insects to reach one of the corpses of the Masters of Dao. Kill! The 9 Heavens Supremes had no choice but to make their move. Follow Qin Nan, he won't be able to run away today. Zhuang Nan yelled and unleashed his 7 fleshes. The mysterious valley was filled with deafening explosions. The brilliance of countless Dao arts lit up the whole valley. Qin Nan was multitasking. He was killing the Void Master bugs while keeping an eye on Zhuang Nan and the rest of the 9 Heavens Supremes. He would use the Sky Stride blow to teleport to another part of the tide of insects if anyone tried to get close to him. Zhuang Nan and the others decisively gave up on the idea of taking advantage of the chaos to kill Qin Nan. They kept a certain distance from Qin Nan so they would not have to waste their energy trying to keep up with him. Even so, Qin Nan remained cautious. Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan did not dare to lower their guard either. After all, they still had a lot of resources on them. They could not guarantee that the other 9 Heavens Supremes would team up to take them out. The shocking battle lasted for around half an hour. Most of the 9 Heavens Supremes had reached the center of the tide of insects. They were not far away from the 2 corpses of the Masters of Dao. Some of the 9 Heavens Supremes used their trump card. They executed special formations, talismans, and Dao weapons to reach the 2 corpses of the Masters of Dao. Qin Nan immediately realized what was going on after taking a glance at the corpses. The 2 corpses of Masters of Dao in the Land of the Duo were different from the corpses of Masters of Dao in the 9 Heavens Immortal Realm. Apart from the fact that the corpses were perfectly preserved, their sizes were enlarged too. Cultivators would be absorbed into their bodies when they landed on the corpses of Masters of Dao. It was impossible to refine them with brute force. It was obvious that some terrifying force had modified the corpses of the Masters of Dao. They felt like they were some kind of ancient ruins or forbidden ground. A while later, Qin Nan threw a punch forward, unleashing the Dao-melting immortal flames. He executed the Sky Stride blow and brought the 2 women to the chest of a corpse in the Master of Dao. A huge suction force immediately enveloped their bodies. They were not allowed to resist at all and were sucked into it. Zhuang Nan and the others quickly began to execute their technique. Qin Nan, you really know how to choose. You didn't enter the corpse of our Li family's senior. Li Chongqing wore a cold grin seeing this. However, once I refine this senior's corpse, no matter how lucky you are, or how many tricks you have up your sleeves, you will still die in the end. Everything was meaningless in the face of absolute power. Qin Nan and his crew's eyes flickered with astonishment when they showed up. They were currently standing beside a blood-red lake with a circumference of 100 li. The sky was pitch black with light dots hanging in the sky like stars. The ground under their feet was yellow in color. They could even see the silhouettes of mountains in the distance. The scenery was no different from the outside world. However, they were currently inside the corpse of a master of Tao instead of some ancient ruins. Qin Nan used the immortal eyes of the divine god of battle to grab a piece of soil. He inspected it carefully before unleashing the force of the Martial Highness realm into the lake. It produced a series of waves before firing wisps of saber intense at the trees nearby. As I thought, Qin Nan's eyes flickered with realization. Xiao Nanzi, what's going on here? Princess Miao Miao asked curiously. I just tested it. Every grain of soil, blade of grass, and drop of water here is actually the body of the Master of Tao. In simpler words, it's a reflection of the world inside it. Qin Nan explained. His heart skipped a beat. From the looks of it, the power behind all of this was not an ordinary level of terror. At least, a Master of Tao would not be able to do it. However, what was the purpose of that terrifying force setting up the land of the duo? Was it just so the cultivators could have a chance to achieve the Master Realm? Does that mean if we refine the land, lake, and woods here, we will be refining the corpse of the Master of Tao? Princess Miao Miao was eager to try. If that was the case, she would be overjoyed. They would not need to go through any trouble to refine the place. Princess, I don't think that's the case. Jiang Bailan shook her head and said, if the corpse of the Master of Tao has been tampered with, its heart, eyes, blood, and bones must have turned into a mountain, a river, or an ancient tree. I'm afraid the land, lake, and other things we normally see are not that powerful. Qin Nan nodded and said, that's indeed the case. I've just sensed the power and aura of the Master of Tao in the land and lake. It won't do us any good unless we refine the whole place. Princess Miao Miao twisted her lip. The mysterious force that turned the place into such a mess was too evil. Let's leave this place first. We have no choice but to look for it ourselves. I'm afraid those people will catch up to us soon. Before Qin Nan could finish, the three frowned and looked into the sky. They could clearly sense an enormous invisible rule being activated in the unseen world. A shocking sight took place before Qin Nan could take a closer look. The sky was spinning, the land was splitting, the lake was flowing upward, and the trees were rising from the ground. Some were flying upward, while others were flying in different directions. This piece of heaven and earth was undergoing an inconceivable change. Qin Nan wore a stern look. He unleashed the Tao pattern to encapsulate the three of them and protect them from the flying mountains and strong winds. Rumble. The endless sounds of explosions seemed to have become the only thing in this world. Chapter 2080. Qin Nan withdrew the Tao pattern. Everything in front of them had changed. The original Scarlet Lake was no longer there. Instead, it was replaced by a vast desert. There was no mountain range at the end of the line of sight. Even the sky was no longer dark. It was bright with suns hanging in the north, south, east, and west. From the looks of it, there should be some kind of rule set in this world. After a certain period of time, there will be a change. The positions of those things formed by eyes, blood, bones, and so on will be disrupted again and become unstable. Jiang Bailan said. Qin Nan nodded in agreement. He immediately noticed that the four suns in the sky were different. They must have been formed by a certain part of the corpse of the Master of Tao. However, it was impossible for them to refine the ancient suns. Otherwise, it would attract the attention of the 9 Heavens Supremes. That being said, the rule was quite beneficial to them too. Supreme South World and Li Chongqing could sense where they were. They had no chance of escaping from them. However, if they could figure out the rule and make use of it, they would be able to fend them off. That being said, if they were extremely unlucky, they might stumble into the people when the place changed. They would have nowhere to run. Come, let's look for those places. Qin Nan and the others soon made their move. During the process, the three of them tried different methods to see if they could sense anything. After all, it was very time-consuming to keep flying with their eye technique. Unfortunately, none of the methods they tried worked. Princess Meow Meow's soulless flesh was useless too. Everything here was formed by the body. It had nothing to do with the heavens and earth. Qin Nan suddenly came to a stop. He noticed that the ownerless heaven pattern in his divine sense was emitting a faint glow. Could it be? Qin Nan quickly directed his divine sense into the ownerless heaven pattern. Qin Nan soon had a strange feeling. Something ahead was triggering the ownerless heaven pattern's reaction. Qin Nan squinted. He told the two women and picked up his pace. After flying for a few thousand breaths, a forest appeared in their vision. Ancient trees of various colors grew rapidly, each with different colors. Two of the ancient trees were particularly eye-catching. They were 3 times taller than the other ancient trees, and their dense leaves were emitting a flicker of light. Qin Nan activated the immortal eyes of the divine god of battle and saw a formidable force inside the 2 trees. It also had the aura of a master of Tao and a faint will. It felt extremely sturdy. Even the supreme force in Qin Nan's body was significantly weaker than the 2 trees. It seems like the 2 trees are most likely the bones of the master of Tao's corpse. Qin Nan's eyes flickered with joy. The ownerless heaven pattern was still glowing. It must have sensed something. At this rate, it would be a lot easier for them to find the other parts of the corpse. Princess Bailan, there's no time to lose. Hurry up and refine the trees. Prepare some resources to improve your cultivation to the greater success stage. Qin Nan said without any hesitation. Based on their previous observation, the corpse of the Master of Tao was no longer the same as before. If they forcibly uprooted the 2 ancient trees, their energy would deplete rapidly. They had no choice but to refine them on the spot. It's just 2 bones. The princess isn't interested in them. You should refine them, Princess Meow Meow said disdainfully. I'm thinking of finding better ones too. Jiang Bailan shook her head with a smile. Qin Nan rolled his eyes and said, Enough with the nonsense, our situation will be a lot better once your cultivation reaches the greater success stage. We'll need someone to protect you when we refine the bones. Besides, with my current cultivation, I won't be able to reach the peak even if I refine the bones. It's meaningless. Princess Meow Meow twisted her lips upon hearing this. Jiang Bailan did not say anything either. They obediently went to refine the bones. Qin Nan flicked his finger to set up some forbidding auras. He stuck the heaven-shattering saber into the ground beside him and sat on the ground with his legs crossed. He could use the opportunity to sort out the 3 Tao arts that he had secretly learned. Tao arts were similar to the arts of Tao seeking. It was not a good thing to have too many Tao arts without mastering them. However, Qin Nan's martial skill talent was improving day by day. Time gradually passed. The 2 women encountered some resistance during the process of refining the bones, but they managed to subdue them in the end. It was a close call, but it was not a problem. A 9 Heavens Supreme in the early stage and 2 9 Heavens Supremes in the greater success stage discovered the place. However, they quickly left when they saw the blue-red hair. Regardless of Qin Nan's current situation, they would not want to provoke him. Whoosh! Qin Nan's eyes suddenly sprang open. He glanced ahead and said calmly, Fellow cultivators, why are you still hiding since you're already here? A few hundred li away, the calm rift immediately shuddered. An old man, a young man, and a woman appeared. Their 9 Heavens Supreme force surged like a surging tide, indicating that they were peak 9 Heavens Supremes. The old man did not feel embarrassed. He exclaimed, Cultivator Qin Nan, you're extraordinarily impressive indeed. Even my sky-shrouding robe couldn't fool your eyes. Qin Nan said calmly, You 3 are a rogue cultivator and 2 from ancient tribes. I don't think there's any conflict between us? The young man nodded with a smile and said, Indeed, but we're quite interested in the immortal trees that the two skeletons turned into." The woman added with a seductive look, "We know friend Qin Nan. Even though he's only in the greater success stage, his strength is outstanding. He can easily take on peak 9 heavens supremes. We don't want to be friend Qin Nan's enemy. We'll leave if friend Qin Nan gives us some benefit. How's that? After all, friend Qin Nan has benefited a lot from this trip too. We're not asking for much. We only want a quasi-master tree, a heavenly 8 trigrams, and 2 skeletons of peak 9 heavens supremes each." Qin Nan's lips curled upward. Were they trying to rob him? Besides, they were asking for a quasi-master tree and a heavenly 8 trigrams. How was that not asking for much? Judging from the current situation, fighting the 3 peak 9 heavens supremes would not benefit him at all. If he gave them the resources and sent them away, it would only affect their fortune slightly. Chapter 2081. The expressions of the 3 peak 9 heavens supremes froze. They initially thought even if Qin Nan did not agree to it straight away, he would at most negotiate with them to lower the price of the loot. However, not only did Qin Nan reject their offer, he even asked them to leave? Did Qin Nan really think they would not dare to do anything to him? The old man who spoke first said with a twisted expression, "Cultivator Qin Nan, don't be too full of yourself. It won't do you any good if you really start a fight." Qin Nan was amused by the old man's words. He said, "Aren't you the ones who are being full of yourself? Do you think 3 peak 9 heavens supremes can rob me so easily? Let's not waste any more time. If you leave now, I won't hold you accountable." The 3 wore cold expressions. "Don't waste your time talking to him. The 2 women behind Qin Nan are in the crucial period of achieving the greater success stage of the 9 heavens supreme realm. We just need to use them well to restrict Qin Nan's movement. He won't be able to utilize 70% of his strength." The young man executed the art of Tao seeking in his body and transmitted his voice. "If the 3 of us work together, we will surely be able to suppress Qin Nan. We'll then split the loot evenly among Qin Nan." The other 2 immediately came to a realization. They unleashed shocking auras. In particular, a total of 999 illusory immortal swords appeared above the old man's head. They formed a sword Tao formation that completely blocked and sealed off the surrounding space. Qin Nan's divine battle spirit appeared behind him. The 12 arts of Tao seeking were executed in his body simultaneously. His aura skyrocketed. The 3 peak 9 heavens supremes wore a stern look. "Do it." The figures of the 3 sprang forward at the speed of lightning, resulting in a tremendous pressure crushing toward Qin Nan's figure. The strength of the 3 peak 9 heavens supremes teaming up was quite terrifying. Even Taoist Qianlong, holy monk Wang Jin, and supreme Wanqing, who were reputable patriarchs, could not afford to underestimate them. However, Qin Nan's eyes flashed with excitement. Voila! Wisps of Tao-melting immortal flames burst out of his body like a peerless ocean of flames. Petty tricks! The 3 peak 9 heavens supremes did not choose to dodge the attack. Instead, they chose to face the attack head-on. However, in less than a breath's time, they saw Qin Nan advance instead of retreating. He soared into the sky and pointed a finger at them. Art of Taiyin. The scene around them suddenly changed. The 3 peak 9 heavens supremes rapidly shrank in size. They were standing on a desolate land. Several enormous Qin Nan-like ancient mountains appeared around them. Their eyes were staring down at them. The Tao technique of the superfluous lifeless sect. The 3 of them had experienced countless battles, so they immediately recognized the origin of this technique. 9 continents and 4 seas, all living beings. Only the ancient Tao can be. The old man raised his sword and spoke with a thunderous voice. Mysterious runes surfaced on the young man's body as his will skyrocketed. An ancient scripture appeared in the woman's hand. She flipped through the pages and emitted wisps of immortal glow. The desolate land began to tremble vigorously as cracks began to appear on it. The art of Taiyin might be obscure and difficult to break under normal circumstances, but the three peak nine heavens supremes were simply too powerful. They did not even need to see through the secrets of the art of Taiyin. They could simply activate it and break it with brute force. However, in the next instant, a shocking scene appeared. The 30 clones of Qin Nan placed their palms together and emitted a Bodhi glow. An enormous illusionary Bodhi tree appeared behind them. He uttered countless Bodhi chants in all directions and attacked the three peak nine heavens supremes' minds and souls. In addition to it, 15 of his clones sat with their legs crossed and merged with the tree. The will of Bodhi that they unleashed greatly surpassed the strength of the 30 clones. The art of Bodhi heart returning and the art of Bodhi of the ancient Bodhi temple? The eyes of the three peak nine heavens supremes widened in disbelief. How did he master the two arts of Tao seeking too? Moreover, how did he combine the three Tao techniques together? They could more or less understand why Qin Nan had mastered the two Tao arts. After all, Qin Nan was able to steal the arts of Tao seeking of 10 supreme Taoism factions, let alone Tao arts. However, they were quite shocked when they saw the second one. One had to know that it was not difficult to release 3 Tao techniques at once. However, to completely combine 3 Tao techniques together to form a Tao technique killing formation, very few people could do it. Besides, the 3 Tao arts were 2 different arts of Tao seeking. However, in the next moment, they saw an even more shocking scene. Following this, the 4 clones unleashed a tremendous murderous aura. In less than a breath's time, they threw over 1,000 punches forward, forming a peerless fist aura that crushed down upon the cultivators. In addition to it, Qin Nan's true self had also gathered the will of the remaining 9 arts of Tao seeking on the heaven-shattering saber. Tao jolting saber art. The saber intense poured down at the cultivators like a heavy downpour. Qin Nan had combined the 5 Tao arts into one in a single breath. Qin Nan already had an idea when he stole the Tao arts from holy monk Wang Jin and the others. He was planning to give Zhuang Nan and the others a surprise, but he did not expect to stumble into the 3 peak nine heavens supremes. He decided to use them as practice. How is this possible? The 3 peak nine heavens supremes were astounded. How outstanding was his martial talent to be able to combine the Tao arts of Tao seeking with 12 Tao arts. Although they were shocked, an enormous chill exploded in their hearts, causing them to instantly sober up. Heavenly Dipper heart-returning sword formation. Descend of the God. Godly book. The 3 cultivators let out a roar and executed their Tao arts in the nick of time. Meanwhile, wisps of brilliant immortal glow flickered beside them. Ancient Tao weapons floated in the air and unleashed formidable power to resist the deadly situation. Bang bang bang! A series of shocking explosions took place. Even though the combination of Tao arts was not enough to kill the 3 cultivators instantly, it was enough to pin them down. They were basically trapped by Qin Nan and had no chance to fight back. No, we can't afford to keep fighting him. We have to withdraw. The old man shouted in a low voice as he attacked. Chapter 2082. The young man and the woman nodded. They immediately changed the hand seal they were performing. The 3 of them were trying their best to defend themselves against Qin Nan's attacks, but now, 2 of them were defending themselves while the other was looking for openings. Trying to leave? Qin Nan let out a faint smile. He could not stop the 3 peak nine heavens supremes if they wanted to leave. It was his first time combining 5 Tao arts. He had already put all his focus and will into it. He could not unleash the Tao pattern in his body to deal a destructive blow to the 3 peak nine heavens supremes. Besides, Qin Nan was still inexperienced. He had expended a lot of his supreme force when combining the 5 Tao arts. As a matter of fact, if the three Peak Nine Heavens Supremes were able to hold on for a little longer, Qin Nan would have stopped combining at least two of the Tao arts. However, since the battle had already begun, he could not let the three Peak Nine Heavens Supremes leave so easily. Qin Nan frowned all of a sudden and glanced ahead. A streak of azure light appeared in the illusionary space created by the Taiyin technique without any prior signs. It rapidly expanded, forming a screen of light. Combining 5 Tao arts in one go, Qin Nan, you are extraordinarily strong indeed. An exclamation came from the light barrier. Someone is here? The three Peak Nine Heavens Supremes were startled. Qin Nan pondered for a moment. His clones stopped performing the hand seal and withdrew the art of Taiyin. The person who was able to see the situation inside the art of Taiyin was clearly no ordinary person. He had to find out what was going on. As Qin Nan thought, the three Peak Nine Heavens Supremes immediately sensed the presence of 2 Peak Nine Heavens Supremes not far away when they withdrew from the art of Taiyin. Qin Nan's eyes widened when he lifted his gaze. They were a young man and a middle-aged man. The young man had short black hair, sharp brows, and bright eyes. He was wearing a plain outfit. He had a faint golden hammer hanging on his back. It felt like he possessed an enormous and pure power. Although the middle-aged man looked ordinary and there was nothing special about him, he exuded a faint murderous aura that permeated the surrounding void. Qin Nan had not only seen the two of them when they were fighting for the Soul Howl Immortal Jade in the main tomb, but he had also specially observed them. Because they were from the Sherdao clan. The young man was the 87th saint of the Sherdao tribe, Xiang Han. Sherdao clan? Xiang Han? The three Peak Nine Heavens Supremes were overjoyed. They never thought that the situation would take such a huge turn. Holy Son Xiang Han, Qin Nan's battle prowess is very strong. I'm sure you've noticed it just now. Why don't we join forces and kill Qin Nan on the spot? Once we're done, we'll split the heavenly treasures on Qin Nan's body. The old man was the first to react, and he quickly transmitted his voice. The Sherdao clan had treated Qin Nan as a traitor because of the fifth immortal, the divine god of battle. Everyone in the Nine Heavens immortal realm knew about it. Qin Nan, you didn't even agree to hand over the heavenly treasures when we asked you to. You even wanted to fight us. Look at how you're going to die now. The old man, the young man, and the woman chuckled coldly in their hearts. Qin Nan's heart sank. It was impossible for him to take on 5 Peak Nine Heavens Supremes at the same time with his current strength. Besides, Xiang Han was an experienced saint. Even though he was not ranked on the Supreme Leaderboard, his strength was most likely on par with Taoist Qianlong, Holy Monk Wangjin, Supreme Wanqing, and the rest of the patriarchs. Besides, he also sensed that Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan were on the verge of achieving the greater success stage of the Nine Heavens Supreme Realm. It would be a great hindrance if they were to disturb them. Xiang Han glanced at the 3 Peak Nine Heavens Supremes disdainfully and said, "Enough with the nonsense, it's our Sherdao clan's business. Piss off." The old man and his companions were stunned. Was this Xiang Han trying to claim the heavenly treasures for himself? Saint Xiang Han, don't be too full of yourself. With Qin Nan's strength, the old man said with a dark expression. After being told to get lost twice, he was obviously in a bad mood. Before he could finish his words, the middle-aged man beside Xiang Han took a step forward. An earth-shattering murderous aura enveloped the three of them like a storm. The light emitted by the 4 suns in the sky began to distort. Very well. The old man was infuriated. He said, "Since you're so full of yourself, we'll leave. Besides, Xiang Qi is my friend too. If you fail to kill Qin Nan, I'll tell him what happened." After saying this, the old man and the other two flew off into the distance. As for Xiang Qi, he was the 86th saint of the Sherdao clan. He was ranked in the top 10 on the Supreme Leaderboard. He was also in charge of the Sherdao clan on the Celestial Tree. The person in charge was similar to the patriarch of the Sherdao tribe's branch. He was in charge of the Sherdao tribe's affairs in the Dao-seeking land. He had the right to command the people of the Sherdao tribe, including Xiang Han. That being said, those who were able to reach the peak 9 heavens supreme realm were all smart people. The old man and his companions did not fly too far away. They were expecting the battle between Xiang Han and Qin Nan to end in a draw. They would be able to make their move when the time came. Xiang Han ignored the old man's words. He pointed forward and unleashed wisps of black aura. They encapsulated the two of them and Qin Nan as if they were constructing a small space. Qin Nan's eyes flickered with a confused look as he blurted out, "Cultivator Xiang Han, why are you doing this?" Qin Nan had no idea what was going on. The people of the Sherdao clan would set up a trap to kill him whenever they learned about him. They would not show any mercy. However, Xiang Han's actions were too strange. Qin Nan would not believe that Xiang Han was trying to claim all his wealth. In the eyes of the public, Qin Nan was the reincarnation of Zhou Di's son, Zhou Xiao. Regardless of how confident Xiang Han was in his strength, there was no way he would give up on killing Qin Nan and take the risk. "Haha, Qin Nan, to be honest, I really want to kill you. Of course, it's not because of Senior Xiang Zun, but because your strength is too strong. I'm very excited about it." Xiang Han was eager to give it a try. It was as if he could imagine the scene of him battling Qin Nan, causing his heart to be filled with great excitement, causing his body to tremble slightly. Seeing this, the middle-aged man's eyes revealed a trace of helplessness as he coughed softly. Chapter 2083. Qin Nan was startled. Even though Xiang Zun's intention was not to betray the Sherdao tribe, it was no different from betraying the Sherdao tribe. Betraying the tribe was a great taboo for every ancient tribe. It was worse than leaking the art of Dao seeking. Very well. Why did the Sherdao tribe change their attitude? Was it because his real past life was Zhou Xiao? That was impossible. Whoosh. Following this, Qin Nan recalled Chao Ling, Zheng Weiyuan, and Han Qiuying's attitude toward him. He could vaguely feel that his awakening of his past life had triggered some kind of undercurrent. Xiang Han chuckled and said, "Qin Nan, I believe other factions have approached you and are planning to team up with you, right? If I'm not mistaken, the Mumin sect must be one of them." Qin Nan nodded and said, "Cultivator, please enlighten me." "Sai, don't call me that. It's so awkward. Just call me by my name." Xiang Han waved his hand and said, "It's actually not that complicated. It all started with a Heaven Highness." Nan frowned. "A Heaven Highness? What did it have to do with a Heaven Highness?" Xiang Han said after a slight ponder, "Qin Nan, you must know there's only one Heaven Highness in the world, and he doesn't have much time left. However, do you know how the Heaven Highness came to be?" Qin Nan asked. Nan shook his head. He was indeed clueless about it. "We don't know much about the Heaven Highness either, but we are sure that he's not from our era. He's from the era when the 4 Supreme Highnesses ruled the 9 heavens immortal realm." Qin Nan was startled upon hearing the words. It had been many years since the era of the 4 Supreme Heavenly Venerate. Even though Qin Nan was not familiar with the power of the Heaven Highnesses, he was confident that even a Heaven Highness would not be able to live for so long. Think about it, what does this mean? It means there hasn't been a new Heaven Highness in the 9 heavens immortal realm since the ancient war began. A thought crossed Nan's mind as he came to a realization. Are you saying that it's no longer possible to achieve the Heaven Highness realm in the 9 heavens immortal realm? Han nodded and said, "That's indeed the case. The great battle in the past had a great impact on the 9 heavens immortal realm. As a result, no one in the 9 heavens immortal realm, or more precisely, the entire primary upper realm, has a place to achieve the Heaven Highness realm. Ascending from immortal king to supremacy allows one to enter the 72 sacred zones of the heavens and earth. Ascending from supremacy allows one to enter the Tao-seeking lands. Once they became sovereigns, they would be able to enter the battlefield of Aeon. But what about sovereigns and celestials? Where to? I have nowhere to go. Qin Nan was stunned. Indeed, from what he currently knew, there really was no place to advance to Empyrean. In other words, the Sherdao tribe stopped trying to kill me, and the Mumin sect and the other factions are willing to join hands with me because my past life, Zhou Xiao, is able to find such a place? Qin Nan gradually calmed down. In the 9 heavens immortal realm, the 7 heaven highness clans, the Mumin sect, the Sherdao tribe, the tribe of immortal spirits, the other ancient tribes, the 13 supreme Taoism factions, and the rulers of Tao are all looking for a way to achieve the heaven highness realm. Since the end of the ancient war, many factions have found a way to achieve the heaven highness realm. They have been trying to find a way. The way that the Sherdao tribe found Ugh, I don't know the details yet. I only know it's similar to the Mumin sect and the other factions. It's closely related to your past life, Xiang said. Han said. Qin Nan squinted. Xiang Han's words had given him a great shock. He did not expect there to be such a huge undercurrent in the 9 heavens immortal realm. Every faction and the rulers of Tao were obsessed with achieving the heaven highness realm. However, from the looks of it, this was a good thing for him. And he did not know what the Sherdao tribe, the Mumin sect, the Zheng clan, and the Han clan were planning to do by using Zhou Xiao's identity. However, he had lost 4 terrifying enemies in the 9 heavens immortal realm, especially the Sherdao tribe. Originally they were supposed to be enemies until one of them was dead. Ding, however, Qin Nan did not think he would be on good terms with the 4 factions in the future. These factions were only interested in benefit. As long as they had enough benefits, they could easily forget about the grudge between them. If there were no benefits, the 4 factions would fall out with him without any hesitation. Cultivator Qin Nan, a middle-aged man, said. He spoke for the first time. We know the Sherdao tribe has a lot of conflicts with you in the past, but not everyone in the Sherdao tribe is against you. What happened to Senior Xiang Zun is a thorn in the heart of the Sherdao clan, but times have changed. Many seniors in our clan can understand what happened to Senior Xiang Zun back then. If a Peak 9 Heavens Supreme referred to him as a senior, he must be an expert in the Master Realm or the Ruler Realm of the Sherdao tribe. That being said, we were being unreasonable. If Cultivator Qin Nan is willing to work with us, we'll surely compensate you accordingly. The middle-aged man said after a slight pause, We hope friend Qin Nan can find some time to visit the Celestial Tree. Saint Xiang Qi will talk to you about it. Qin Nan did not continue the conversation. He said with a smile, All right, I'll look for Saint Xiang Qi once I'm there. The middle-aged man let out a relieved sigh. All right. It seemed like Qin Nan was not against it. Qin Nan, that's enough, we'll be leaving now. Sigh, if we have the chance, we should have a friendly duel next time. Xiang Han exclaimed. Then, he and the middle-aged man crushed an immortal talisman. A powerful force shrouded them, and they vanished into thin air. The dark space dissipated too. The outcome has been decided? The 3 Peak 9 Heavens Supremes were startled upon seeing this. However, in the next moment, their eyes were filled with bewilderment. Where were Xiang Han and Princess Miao Miao? Why, where did they go? At that instant, 2 powerful auras burst out and shook the surroundings. Miao Miao, the supreme force inside Princess Miao and Jiang Bailan's bodies skyrocketed, resulting in a tremendous suppression. 2. Chapter 2084. Xiao Nanzi, are you hurt? Princess Miao Miao asked as soon as she opened her eyes. Jiang Bailan's eyes revealed a trace of worry. They had sensed the auras of 5 peak 9 heavens supremes when they were trying to achieve a breakthrough. However, for some reason, 3 of them had left. The remaining 2 immediately left too. Don't worry, I'm not hurt. Qin Nan glanced behind him. He told Princess Meow Meow everything when he saw the 3 peak 9 heavens supremes leaving in a panic. Does that mean the 4 formidable factions are begging us now? Princess Meow Meow's eyes glittered. That was great news. These formidable factions had been around since the terrifying battle in the ancient times. They had accumulated a lot of resources. It would be great if they could extort some money from them. You can't say that. After all, we don't know what they're planning to do. Qin Nan shook his head. Besides, most importantly, he was not Zhou Xiao in his past life. It was just that the 4 formidable factions were unaware of it yet. However, Qin Nan was a little confused when he mentioned it. According to Xiang Hun, Zhou Xiao was a perverted prodigal son of a rich family. He did not have many achievements. What was so special about him that could help them achieve the Heaven Highness realm? Brother Nan, in my opinion, since the 4 formidable factions are willing to cooperate with us, we should make good use of it. It will save us a lot of trouble. Jiang Bailan said. Qin Nan's eyes flickered coldly. Leaving aside the Mumin sect, the Zheng clan, and the Han clan, he did not have a good impression of the Sherdao tribe. Since Zhou Xiao had taken the initiative to lower his stance, he only needed to figure out the details of the cooperation. If Zhou Xiao played a significant role in it, he wouldn't mind using the wrong information to extort a huge sum of money from the Sherdao clan. What if the Sherdao tribe fell out with him after they realized the truth? In any case, they had already fallen out with each other, so there was no harm in doing it again. Little Lon Lon, don't call me Brother Nan. Otherwise, someone will become arrogant. Learn from me and call me Little Nancy. Princess Meow Meow said. Princess, this I really can't say. Jiang Bailan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If she had to call Qin Nan Little Nancy, that would be really awkward. Oh, do you feel awkward? Then I'll just call you husband. Princess Meow Meow said with a smile. That girl called Rodeo even calls Xiao Nancy her husband. If you call him husband, your status will be much higher than hers. Qin Nan's forehead was full of cold sweat. Why was Rodeo suddenly involved? Was this intentional or unintentional? Little Nancy, why is your face so pale? Princess Meow Meow's smile grew even wider. Ahem, Princess, let's not talk about this for now. Let's hurry to the next place. That's right, I already know where the next place is. Qin Nan and the 2 women left the place and flew forward according to the ownerless heaven pattern's reaction. Perhaps the trio had run out of luck. The places that the ownerless heaven pattern was reacting to were all immortal trees made of skeletons. Some cultivators were already fighting one another. Qin Nan and the others decided not to get involved. They were a thorn in most people's side. If they showed up, they might be surrounded. Time gradually passed. A day later, the place underwent great changes again. The 4 suns in the sky had disappeared. They were replaced by a bright moon. Qin Nan and the others felt like they were being watched. The moon was most likely formed by one of the eyes of the Master of Tao. Unlike last time, a few dozen 9 heavens supremes turned into brilliant rays of light and headed for the moon at a shocking pace. Qin Nan murmured after taking a glance, "It seems like I have to improve my cultivation to the peak 9 heavens supreme realm as soon as possible. If they all achieved the peak 9 heavens supreme realm, they could easily fend off Zhuangnan, Supreme South World, and the others and leave with ease. However, if they did not have more than 10 peak 9 heavens supremes, it was hard to tell who would emerge victorious." Qin Nan soon calmed his thoughts. He continued to search, according to the ownerless heaven pattern's reaction. After about 4 hours, they flew to the bottom of a lake. There were celestial flowers and celestial herbs of different colors that were growing healthily. Even though the energy each of them contained was not as great as the two immortal trees, they had the advantage of numbers. Qin Nan was able to refine Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan's immortal trees. Time passed bit by bit. Countless battles, big and small, played out in this world. After some time, Qin Nan, who had been flying in the air, suddenly became energetic. It was because the ownerless heaven pattern was emitting a bright light. After some time, Qin Nan discovered that the stronger the ownerless heaven pattern was, the brighter the light it was emitting would be. The light it was emitting was something that had not happened for a long time. Princess Bailan, it seems like we've found a good place. Qin Nan's lips curled upward as he picked up his pace. After flying for some time, Qin Nan and the others came to a stop and looked into the distance. With a single glance, a strange look flashed across the eyes of the three of them. In the distance, they could see several mountains rising from the ground, forming a mountain range. The one at the center of the mountain range was over 10,000 zhang tall. It was blood-red in color, with countless strange flowers, herbs, and magnificent immortal trees growing on it. Deep rumbles could be heard from the mountain at times. Each time it happened, it would emit the aura of a master of Tao. A strong gust of wind swept past the other mountains. It was the power that the mountain contained. It was shaking and surging fiercely. Qin Nan collected his thoughts. He was a little excited. This large mountain was obviously formed from some important part of the body. Compared to this large mountain, the immortal trees formed from the two skeletons they encountered earlier were simply a drop in the ocean, and they weren't worth mentioning. Qin Nan, Princess, I think we should take turns refining the mountain. After all, we are still some distance away from reaching the peak. We won't succeed with just one mountain. Jiang Bailan was the first to speak. She was planning to stop Qin Nan from making the decision. Chapter 2085. A total of 13 cultivators were flying toward them from the east and the northwest. There were 5 cultivators in the east. Judging from their auras, 2 of them were Peak 9 Heavens Supremes and 3 9 Heavens Supremes in the Greater Success stage. Their identities were quite complicated too. Some were rogue cultivators, while others were from ancient tribes. It was obvious that they had formed an alliance with the 3 Peak 9 Heavens Supremes that Qin Nan had stumbled into. The 8 cultivators in the northwest were Peak 9 Heavens Supremes and 4 in the Greater Success stage. 2 of the Peak 9 Heavens Supremes were monks of the ancient Bodhi Temple, while the other 2 were cultivators of the Extreme Living Gate. The 9 Heavens Supremes in the Greater Success stage were from the 2 Supreme Taoism factions too. The white flames burning in Qin Nan's eyes flickered. Even though the 4 Peak 9 Heavens Supremes were no match against holy monk Wang Jin and Taoist Qianlong on their own, their combined strength was not to be underestimated either. Qin Nan. The 13 cultivators were overjoyed when they saw the blood-red mountain, but their eyes widened as they quickly scanned their surroundings and took a closer look at the trio. Amitbao, I didn't expect to stumble into Cultivator Qin Nan here. Cultivator Qin Nan is indeed destined to be with the Buddha. One of the monks placed his palms together and uttered a chant. At the same time, he transmitted a message to the badge in his storage bag, causing the Bodhi glow in his eyes to skyrocket. Another monk, the 2 Peak 9 Heavens Supremes of the Extreme Living Gate, and the rest of the 9 Heavens Supremes in the Greater Success stage immediately executed their arts of Tao seeking. The atmosphere in the sky suddenly became incomparably tense as a chill wreaked havoc. Qin Nan and the 2 Supreme Taoism factions were sworn enemies. Even though they were interested in the Blood Mountain nearby, since they had stumbled into it, their first priority was to kill Qin Nan here. Qin Nan wore a calm expression as he transmitted his voice. Princess Bailan, when the battle starts, find a way to drag them into the battle too. As soon as he finished speaking, a strong saber intent burst out from his body and soared into the sky. It was meaningless to come up with a plan now. They could only kill the 13 cultivators in front of them so they could claim the mountain. When Qin Nan was about to make his move, he and the Peak 9 Heavens Supremes immediately sensed something. They immediately looked to the southeast. Roar! A thunderous dragon roar suddenly resounded throughout the world. The originally calm space suddenly shattered like a mirror. An enormous dragon over 10,000 zhang long that was formed by countless saber intents roared out and landed on the Blood Mountain at a shocking speed. The mountain shattered and dust surged. A young man with short black hair and indifferent eyes appeared in front of everyone. He held a purple-patterned ancient saber, and the aura he gave off overshadowed everyone present. Chen Shuryan. The Peak 9 Heavens Supremes were startled. The 9 Heavens Supremes in the Greater Success stage felt a great chill running down their spines. They were not too afraid of Qin Nan. Qin Nan might be strong in his past life, but that was only his past life. Qin Nan was only a 9 Heavens Supreme in the Greater Success stage now. Chen Shuryan was different. He was the 90th saint of the Qin clan. Not only did he have a noble status, he was also ranked 9th on the Supreme Leaderboard. How significant was the 9th on the Supreme Leaderboard? Even the patriarchs of the ancient Bodhi Temple and the Extreme Living Gate were incomparable to him. At this moment, the originally murderous and frozen atmosphere silently underwent a great change, and it became strange. Chen Shuryan was unaware of it. His eyes ignored the others as he glanced at Qin Nan with a rare grin on his face. What a surprise! I'm so lucky to stumble into you here. It seems like the heavens have decided that we are going to fight today. Hearing this, the flames in Qin Nan's eyes burned vigorously as the battle blood in his body began to boil. An indescribable excitement rose in his heart. Qin Nan would never underestimate any Peak 9 Heavens Supreme, but only those on the Supreme Leaderboard or extraordinary Peak 9 Heavens Supremes could awaken his battle blood. Qin Nan, we can't afford to fight Chen Shuryan now. Otherwise, the people of the ancient Bodhi Temple and the Extreme Living Gate will surely find a chance to attack us. Jiang Bailan blurted out. She knew her man too well. Even though she did not want to stop the fight, she could not afford to act recklessly under the circumstances. Before Qin Nan could speak, Chen Shuryan spoke coldly. Everyone, if anyone dares to attack Qin Nan and the people around him, don't blame me for falling out with you. He was talking to the crowd, yet he did not even look at them. The eyes of Qin Nan and the two women flickered with surprise. Was this Chen Shuryan planning to meanwhile, the 9 Heavens Supremes of the ancient Bodhi Temple, the Extreme Living Gate, and the rogue cultivators wore displeased looks. This Chen Shuryan was too imperious. He was not treating them seriously at all. Saint Chen, if you say so, we have no objections. The Peak 9 Heavens Supremes took a deep breath to withhold the anger in their hearts. Chen Shuryan nodded slightly. He performed a hand seal with a single hand, summoning a formidable sealing force from the rift that landed on Chen Shuryan's body. He suppressed his cultivation to the Greater Success stage of the 9 Heavens Supreme Realm. He raised his arm and pointed the ancient saber at Qin Nan. The right time, the right place, and the right people, we shall decide who's stronger today. Do you dare? The cultivators were startled. They did not expect the man to do everything just so he could have a fair fight with Qin Nan. A calm smile appeared on Qin Nan's face as he said without turning his head, Princess Bailan, go ahead and refine the mountain. Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan nodded. They flew toward the mountain without saying a word. Their men had no choice but to do what they were supposed to do. If Cultivator Chen is willing to go so far, why wouldn't I dare to do it? Qin Nan's blue-red hair drifted in the wind as he exchanged glances with Chen Shuryan. The ancient sabers in their hands buzzed as if they were aware of something, causing the power of their saber intent to rise rapidly. The atmosphere in the void was indescribable. The other Peak 9 Heavens Supremes felt as if time had slowed down at this moment. Bang! Chapter 2086. Tao Jolting Saber Art. Qin Nan's figure flickered as he fired thousands of saber intents, which formed an overwhelming saber intent. After merging the Tao intents of the 12 arts of Tao seeking with them, the saber intents were as strong as lightning. They possessed a terrifying destructive power. Without being exaggerating, ordinary 9 heavens supremes in the greater success stage would be killed instantly by the saber intents. 19 ancient, immortal arts. Chen Shiyan's eyes flickered with excitement. 19 magnificent figures appeared behind him. Each figure had an ancient aura with a formidable aura, as if they were authorities from the ancient times. Most importantly, Qin Nan's immortal eyes of the divine god of battle noticed that the auras and will of the 19 figures had merged with the ancient saber in Chen Shiyan's hand, granting it an unimaginable power. Bang bang bang! A series of explosions took place. Pieces of space began to shatter one after another. The mountains that were closer to the two were swept up by the wind and immediately shattered into countless pieces. Chen Shiyan had threatened the others and lowered his cultivation to ensure a fair fight. Meanwhile, Qin Nan only used his arts of Tao seeking and saber arts. It was a battle between 2 saber cultivators. The other cultivators could not help but exclaim in their hearts. They had to admit that the 2's strength had significantly surpassed the 9 heavens supremes in the greater success stage. If they were only in the greater success stage, they would most likely struggle to last more than 100 breaths. The difference was rather obvious. However, despite their astonishment, they were displeased when they saw Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan refining the mountain. However, they did not dare to do anything despite their displeasure. If they tried to harm the 2 women, Chen Shiyan and Qin Nan would not hesitate to pick on them first. It was fine to provoke one Chen Shiyan or one Qin Nan, but they could not afford to offend the 2 at the same time. An eerie sight took place. The 13 cultivators communicated with each other using their divine wills. They did not choose to fight. Instead, they each found a place to refine the blood mountain. It was meaningless for them to fight among themselves, so they might as well divide up the blood mountain. Time gradually passed. Around 1,000 breaths later, Chen Shiyan's saber intent had reached its limit. Although he was at a slight disadvantage in the previous battle, his expression was unprecedentedly excited. Bring out the map. Today, I will be fighting against your extraordinary path. Qin Nan couldn't help laughing when he heard this. Ha ha ha, then you better not be unable to hold on for even 100 breaths of time. Following this, the Tao pattern appeared out of nowhere. A series of explosions took place in the rift. The 19 figures of the ancient immortals shuddered vigorously as cracks began to appear on them. The imperious ancient saber with purple runes suddenly felt like it was being suppressed by a great mountain. The saber intent that it unleashed dissipated into thin air. Its resistance was in vain. The glow of the saber gradually dimmed. On top of it, Chen Shiyan's figure was under great pressure too. Every breath he took was extremely difficult for him. He could not even hold on for 10 breaths under such circumstances, let alone 100 breaths of time. The extraordinary path is a lot scarier than I thought. Chen Shiyan could clearly feel all this. His body sent him waves of exhaustion and pain. However, deep down, he felt an indescribable sense of carefreeness. It was worth it to be able to fight against it. The world is not me, the flying saber is not me. Chen Shiyan performed a hand seal with one hand. His aura immediately changed. There was no distinction between him and the ancient saber with purple runes in his hand. One with the saber? Qin Nan frowned. Merging with the saber was nothing special. Many saber cultivators in the secondary lower realm had already mastered it. However, following this, Qin Nan's eyes widened. Isn't that, cracks could be seen on the surface of the ancient saber, as pieces of the saber began to fall off. In the end, the entire saber was covered in 10 different colors. 3 of them were gathered at the tip of the saber, while the remaining 7 were gathered at the bottom of the saber. Bang! A terrifying saber intent burst out from the saber. Chen Shuryen and the ancient saber slowly rose to their feet like a giant kneeling on the ground. They resisted the magnificent force of the Tao pattern and stood firmly between the heavens and earth. Man, saber, soul, 3 in 1. Interesting, very interesting. Qin Nan's heart was filled with astonishment. Chen Shuryen was indeed worthy of his reputation to be ranked 9th on the supreme leaderboard. Everyone knew that a complete soul would consist of 3 immortal souls and 7 mortal forms. As a cultivator's cultivation improved, the 3 immortal souls and 7 mortal forms would grow stronger too. In addition to that, many cultivators in the 9 heavens immortal realm would purposely cultivate their souls to strengthen them. As such, they were able to launch soul attacks during battles. Chen Shuryen's soul had reached a shocking level. In addition to it, he had found another way to separate his 3 immortal souls and 7 mortal forms and merge them with the ancient saber. It was extremely difficult to achieve such a feat. The slightest mistake would result in the 3 immortal souls or 7 mortal forms dissipating or shattering. It would result in the loss of one's soul. In the best-case scenario, one would become a cripple. In a sense, this could already be considered an extraordinary path. However, Chen Shuryen was still a little off. Qin Nan. Chen Shuryen and the saber in his hand uttered a roar. A brilliant saber glow burst out from the saber and shattered the pressure approaching the Tao pattern. Great timing! Qin Nan's figure sprang forward too. Meanwhile, on the Blood Mountain in the distance, Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and the rest of the cultivators were refining the Tao pattern. The mountain began to tremble vigorously as a shocking will was awakened from it. It tried to resist, but it was soon eliminated by the cultivators. In the end, the mountain shrank at a shocking pace. Even though the loot was shared among the 15 of them, Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan were still able to refine the loot. At this rate, their loot would not be any less than the loot from the immortal tree. However, at this moment, a strange feeling rose in the hearts of the 2 women. Xiao Lanlan, Princess. Chapter 2087. Let's activate the seeds of eternity together. The 2 women immediately thought of the same thing. They stopped refining the seeds of eternity and gathered their thoughts. There was no danger at the moment, nor were there any visible changes. The only thing that could make them feel strange was definitely related to the seed of eternity. Just as they had guessed, in less than 10 breaths, the entire Blood Mountain that had shrunk by 1/3 began to tremble violently. An ancient pressure that came out of nowhere swept through the entire mountain range like a storm in a golden age. What's going on? The cultivators were startled. Look, it's the 2 women beside Qin Nan. A 9 Heavens Supreme in the Greater Success stage blurted out after noticing something. The rest of the cultivators looked in the same direction. Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan were emitting a golden glow. The glow grew brighter with every breath. It felt sacred. Qin Nan, who was in the middle of a battle, glanced over after sensing it. Qin Nan, don't distract me. Chen Shuryen's voice was thunderous. He broke out of the sea like a peerless serpent that had been dormant for thousands of years. He unleashed thousands of saber intents and formed a saber aura that belonged to him. Meanwhile, a shocking change took place under the influence of the 2 seeds of eternity. Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan looked calm. They were unaware of what was going on. Under the influence of an invisible force, their figures rose into the sky. The light emitted from their bodies completely lit up the entire mountain range. Countless cracks appeared on the bloody mountain below them. The layer of bloody mountain rocks on the surface gradually fell off layer by layer, turning into countless pieces. A 3-colored, crystal-clear mountain appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Moreover, this was not the end. It was as if a supreme hand had reached out from the unseen world. Under its fiddling, the great mountain was peeled off layer by layer. It was like a wondrous flower that bloomed in front of everyone. Everyone had a feeling that something was about to happen. The mountain was still blossoming. Everything happened very quickly, yet for some reason, everyone felt like it was taking a long time. In the end, the great mountain completely bloomed. It was as if the entire world had frozen for a few breaths, before it finally exploded with a shocking explosion. A brilliant three-colored light soared into the sky and into the clouds. A terrifying aura was unleashed from it, spreading across the entire mountain range, causing the ground to tremble violently, causing the mountains to shake violently. Countless ripples spread across hundreds of thousands of miles of the void like boiling water. Everyone's expression changed greatly. This was because they felt an incomparably huge pressure under this aura, and an unprecedented sense of danger rose in their hearts. It's the complete aura of a master of Tao. A peak 9 heavens supreme of the ancient Bodhi temple gasped. Complete aura? The others were startled when they collected their thoughts. They had long noticed that the corpse of the Master of Tao had been tampered with by a terrifying force. Its body parts had turned into all kinds of things. However, the aura, will, and other auras of the Master of Tao that the body parts had turned into were scattered. It was impossible to have a complete aura of the Master of Tao. If there was only one possibility. It must have come from the soul of the corpse of the Master of Tao. Everyone knew a person's 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls would dissipate after they died. If the soul of the corpse of the Master of Tao still existed, it was most likely the result of the terrifying force tampering with it. I didn't think the corpse of the Master of Tao in the land of the duo would still have a soul. Everyone's eyes flickered with joy when they thought of the same thing. Although the land of the duo had been opened many times, the rules were different each time. Those who had truly benefited from it seemed to have a deep taboo and would never reveal anything about the land of the duo. All they knew was that the places where the bodies of the 2 lords were located wouldn't have any killing intent or other minor details. The most important point was that this soul was definitely a soul that had no consciousness. It did not belong to anyone. Anyone could take it and refine it. After all, if it still had its consciousness, it meant the Master of Tao was still alive. It was impossible. Look, it seems to be a tunnel. A peak 9 heavens supreme blurted out. His eyes were filled with joy. The others quickly looked over. From the stamen of the 3-colored flower that bloomed from the mountain, a huge vortex of light with a radius of 100 zhang had appeared. It was sucking in all kinds of auras that filled the world. A terrifying aura was being emitted from it too. At that instant, it was as if Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan were being sucked in by the force of the vortex, causing their figures to sink slowly. Qin Nan instantly frowned his eyebrows. He was not in the mood to fight since the rare phenomenon took place. He had been keeping an eye on the situation. He knew that the seed of eternity was the cause of all this. Sigh. Chen Shuryan let out a sigh. He withdrew his saber intense and said helplessly, "It seems like it's only because of the geographical advantage." As a matter of fact, he could not care less about the rare phenomenon, but he could not afford to ignore the soul of the Master of Tao. He was only a little away from achieving the extraordinary path of cultivation. He might be able to refine the soul of the Master of Tao. Besides, Qin Nan's women were in the middle of the chaos. Qin Nan was no longer in the mood to fight. Cultivator Chen, I'm sorry for what happened today, but we still have a long way to go. Once we're done here, you can pick a place. I'll go with you, Qin Nan said while bringing his fists together. He was quite impressed by Chen Shuryan. Even though the man was a little arrogant, he was quite fond of Chen Shuryan's personality. Most importantly, Chen Shuryan was very strong. He was a worthy opponent for Qin Nan. That won't be necessary. Buddhists believe in fate, and so do I when I'm fighting someone, The right time, the right place, and the right people are indispensable. We'll fight again if we have the chance. Chen Shuryen regained his indifference. His figure flickered as he charged into the vortex. Qin Nan let out a smile upon hearing this and quickly followed behind. Chapter 2088. However, little did they know, when they flew into the vortex, an unprecedented change took place in the corpse of the Master of Tao. For example, a few dozen Peak 9 Heavens Supremes were fighting for the moon across the rift. Countless runes appeared on the moon one after another, slowly forming the outline of an eye, as if it was staring at the entire place. That being said, only the important parts of the corpse would react like that. The immortal trees that the corpse had turned into and the lake that the blood had turned into did not react at all. Back to the topic, as soon as Qin Nan entered the vortex, he could feel his figure sinking continuously. The mysterious vortex had isolated him from the rest of the world. He could not sense the two women's situation. Some time later, Qin Nan felt his body loosening as he found himself in a whole new place. Qin Nan immediately looked around him, and saw Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan floating in the rift 100 zhang away. The glow they were emitting was gone, and their auras were normal too. Qin Nan let out a relieved sigh. Chen Shuryen and the rest of the cultivators were around a few hundred zhang away from Qin Nan. Qin Nan, just then. Jiang Bailan immediately told Qin Nan what happened. The rest of the cultivators gasped before Qin Nan could speak. Qin Nan and the others quickly turned around. Their hearts skipped a beat following a glance. They found themselves on a faint golden land. The land was perfectly flat without any bumps or bump. There were no trees or flowers either. At the end of the land, there were 3 blood mountains rising from the ground. The 3 mountains were different from the one that Qin Nan and the others had stumbled into. They were 3 times bigger and had a thicker color. The aura of the master realm they were emitting was overwhelming like an ocean. Everyone was under great pressure. Moreover, every once in a while they would vibrate in a very regular pattern. It was obvious that the 3 mountains were formed from the heart of the Master of Tao. However, the Master of Tao had 3 hearts. Perhaps it was because of the martial art he practiced, or some kind of ancient physique. Everyone knew that the heart was one of the most important parts of the human body. Before a person became a great emperor, it was also the source of all power. It was no exaggeration to say that if Qin Nan could obtain one of them, he would definitely be able to successfully become a peak supremacy. There were also some Peak 9 Heavens Supremes. If they could get their hands on one of them, they might be able to achieve the Master Realm. However, at that moment those 3 hearts appeared dull and dull. Behind them was a lifelike statue standing between the heavens and earth. Even though it was not emitting any energy, its aura of the Master of Tao was still present. It was intimidating everyone. The statue was clearly the soul of the Master of Tao. Buzz. All of a sudden, a soft buzz could be heard from Qin Nan's storage bag. Qin Nan collected his thoughts and took a glimpse, before his eyes flickered with astonishment. The key he had obtained from the 3 Moons Pagoda was reacting at this moment. It was flickering with brilliance. What was going on? Was the key somehow related to the soul of the Master of Tao? Do it! The monks of the ancient Bodhi temple were the first to react. They groaned and unleashed overwhelming Bodhi glows at the magnificent statue. Bald donkey, don't even think about it! The Peak 9 Heavens Supremes of the Extreme Living Gate yelled as they collected their thoughts. As for Qin Nan, he was completely ignored by them. The opportunity to achieve the Master Realm was right in front of them. Why would they care about Qin Nan now? Unless Qin Nan happened to stumble into their subordinates when he was competing for the treasure. Seeing this, Chen Shuryen clicked his tongue. He didn't even look at them. Instead, he looked in another direction. Qin Nan was confused when he noticed something too. He raised his head too. Unbeknownst to them, the calm space suddenly turned into a vortex, with countless runes spinning inside it. There were a total of 10 runes. Does that mean the snow mountain isn't the only one triggered by the seed of eternity? The same thought crossed Qin Nan and the two women's minds. As if to prove their guess, less than 2 breaths later, a loud curse sounded from one of the whirlpools. Motherf ** Ker, this sect master was refining well. Why did you do this to me? If I find out, Meng Langtian, Meng Jinxian, and the others of the 9 Palace Golden Immortal sect showed up. Meng Jinxian seemed to have benefited a lot in just 2 days. He had achieved the greater success stage of the 9 Heavens Supreme Realm. Holy crap! We're rich! Meng Langtian and the others soon discovered the 3 hearts and 1 soul. Their anger immediately dissipated. They were overjoyed instead. Whoosh! 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 Several figures came out of the vortexes. Qin Nan and the 2 women straightened their faces all of a sudden, because among the cultivators that appeared one after another, they saw an extremely familiar figure. Zhuang Nan, Supreme South World, and the Peak 9 Heavens Supremes they were leading. Heart? Soul? Zhuang Nan, Supreme South World, and the others first saw the 3 hearts and 1 soul. Their eyes flickered with greed. They soon discovered the 3 people they had been looking for. Both of their faces were filled with joy. Ha ha, Qin Nan, where are you going to run to now? Zhuang Nan threw his head back and laughed in high spirit. Both Supreme South World and Supreme South World felt their hearts turning cold after searching for 2 days. Even though they knew they would be able to find Qin Nan after refining the corpse of the Master of Tao, what if Qin Nan and the 2 women beside him had achieved the Peak 9 Heavens Supreme Realm by then? There was no telling what would happen then. Qin Nan had failed to kill him when he was in the early stage of the 9 Heavens Supreme Realm. How difficult would it be if he was in the Peak 9 Heavens Supreme Realm? However, the heavens had given them such a great surprise in the blink of an eye. Qin Nan, Princess, everyone is going to compete for the 3 hearts and 1 soul. Let's lure Zhuang Nan and the others there. It might turn the tables around. Jiang Bailan's eyes glittered as she transmitted her voice. Chapter 2089. Do it! Zhuang Nan withdrew his smile and yelled. Wisps of devouring force burst out of his body and constructed a realm of devouring to encapsulate Qin Nan and his crew. Qin Nan executed the 12 arts of Tao seeking in his body. He was about to make his move when the realm of devouring shattered into countless black pieces, as if it had been struck by lightning from the 9 heavens. Zhuang Nan, Supreme South World, Qin Nan, and the others were startled. Hey, Zhuang Nan, aren't you the leader of a sect? How dare you team up with 20 Peak 9 Heavens Supremes to take on 3 9 Heavens Supremes in the greater success stage? Don't you know how to feel ashamed? Meng Langtian led the people of the 9 Palace Golden Immortal sect toward them with a disdainful look. Meng Langtian? Is the 9 Palace Golden Immortal sect going against the heaven-repelling ancient sect and the heaven-slaying sect? Zhuang Nan's expression darkened. Meng Langtian had 5 Peak 9 Heavens Supremes and 7 9 Heavens Supremes in the greater success stage behind him. The others might not know, but Zhuang Nan knew Meng Langtian was not as indecent as he seemed. His strength was most likely on par with Taoist Qianlong, Holy Monk Wangjin, Supreme Wanqing, and the rest of the patriarchs. Senior Yu Qin Nan and his crew were confused too. So what if I'm your enemy? Are you going to bite me? Meng Langtian twisted his lips at Zhuang Nan before transmitting his voice to Qin Nan. Kid, Zhuang Nan is Feng Wuheng. He dares to harm Jiugong in the first sacred area. I won't let him go. Besides, Jiugong is indebted to you. I will stand on your side no matter what. Qin Nan immediately shook his head and said, Senior, I didn't help Jiugong much. He was the one that helped me in the first sacred area, Meng Longtian's eyes glittered before Qin Nan could finish. Damn it, if that's the case, shouldn't you give me some of the resources if I help you with my men? How about 180 Dragon Phoenix Immortal Trees? Qin Nan twisted his lips. The Dragon Phoenix Immortal Tree was the most precious resource in the land of the duo apart from the corpses of the two masters of Tao. He only had one of it. This Meng Langtian, he actually asked for 100? Meng Langtian, you only have yourself to blame for today's events. Zhuang Nan's eyes flickered coldly. He did not waste any more time. With a sudden movement, he appeared in front of Meng Langtian. The strength of his 7 physiques was fully unleashed. They had a total of 22 peak supremes on their side. Even if Meng Langtian and the others were to interfere, they were confident that they could defeat them. On top of that, Zhuang Nan also realized that he had yet to absorb the flesh of good luck. If he could defeat Meng Langtian, he could exchange it for Meng Jiugong. Kill! The 11 Nine Heavens Supremes followed behind Zhuang Nan. Supreme South World led the remaining 9 cultivators to attack Qin Nan and his crew. Senior Meng, lure them to the statue. Qin Nan groaned. He executed the sky stride blow and vanished with the 2 women. Yo, you're pretty smart. Meng Langtian raised his brows and fled for his life. Trying to mess up the battle? Zhuang Nan immediately saw through Qin Nan and his crew's plan. He grinned coldly. So what if the battle was messed up? Many people were after Qin Nan's life. If they saw that Qin Nan was at a disadvantage, or that he was severely injured, they would not hesitate to ambush him. It was hard to tell if it was a good thing or a bad thing. Meanwhile, as Qin Nan and his crew moved away, the battle between the 3 hearts and 1 soul immediately intensified. Not only were there 9 Heavens Supremes in the greater success stage, there were more than 40 peak 9 Heavens Supremes, including one that was ranked 9th on the Supreme Leaderboard. He was unstoppable. The situation was not looking good for Qin Nan and his crew, but it was not too bad. At least, the 3 Patriarch-level authorities were nowhere to be seen. Formation of Eternity. Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan weaved through the Tao arts and strong gusts of wind like fairies. They performed hand seals to summon formations to trap the 3 peak 9 Heavens Supremes. Tao Jolting Saber Art. Qin Nan swung his saber. The overwhelming saber intense encapsulated the peak 9 Heavens Supremes in front of him. Qin Nan, don't embarrass yourself with such a petty trick. Supreme South World's eyes flickered sinisterly like a venomous snake. I'll give you a great gift first. Following it, 7 rays of light burst out of Supreme South World's body. The force of devouring and the power of the 7 ancient fleshes burst out and established an ancient formation. The coexistence of the 7 fleshes? Qin Nan was startled. Didn't they belong to Zhuang Nan? Did Supreme South World have the flesh of Devour too? No, it looks like the 7 fleshes, but the power of each of the fleshes is less than half of Zhuang Nan's. Besides, the power of each of the fleshes is very unstable. It's barely possible to combine them. Qin Nan soon realized what was going on, but he was still curious. How did Supreme South World do it? 7 Immortals Punishment, Heavenly Gate suppressing the world. Supreme South World made his move again. He set up a deadly trap. The power of the 7 fleshes floated above Qin Nan. An illusionary, magnificent gate appeared out of nowhere and fell upon him. Qin Nan's eyes flickered with astonishment. He had to admit that Supreme South World's strength had greatly exceeded his imagination. Ordinary 9 Heavens Supremes in the greater success stage would not stand a chance against the 2 Tao arts. Fine, since you've taken the initiative to give me a gift, I'll settle the score today. Qin Nan let out a calm smile as his battle intent soared into the sky. The Tao intents of the 12 arts of Tao seeking were gathered on the heaven-shattering saber. They turned into a simple saber intent that slashed the gate of heavens into pieces. Tao pattern. An ancient pattern appeared behind Qin Nan. Bang bang bang. There seemed to be an incomparably majestic power descending from the unseen world, causing the power of the 7 great physiques to explode one after another, turning into pieces of powder. Supreme South World was overjoyed instead of being surprised. He performed a hand seal. Spirits descend, clear the world. Chapter 2090. The 10th Immortal? Qin Nan's eyes glittered. He finally understood why Zhuang Nan and the others had been able to sense his presence all this time. Haha, that's right, speaking of which, it's all thanks to you that I was able to find the fortunate encounter. Supreme South World burst out laughing. The power of the 7 fleshes surfaced once again. He performed a series of hand seals and executed a series of Tao art. Isn't it unwise to unleash the 10th Immortal against the 5th Immortal? Qin Nan said calmly. He summoned the divine battle spirit as soon as he finished the sentence. The soul of the 10th Immortal began to tremble at that instant. The boundless battle intent and the aura of the divine god of battle were suppressing him continuously. So what if you're the 5th Immortal? I'm going to slaughter the divine god of battle today. Supreme South World's eyes flickered viciously. The two fought one another once again. Bang bang bang. A series of explosions took place in the small world. Large swathes of the void had already been shattered by the terrifying wind. The originally flat ground was even more messy and unrecognizable. Qin Nan kept an eye on his surroundings while fighting Supreme South World. As Zhuang Nan thought, many people were watching him. He had to be cautious. Meanwhile, someone was the first to break the stalemate. Chen Shuryan and his saber were unstoppable. He shattered every Tao art that was attacking him into pieces and left the 9 Heaven Supremes in front of him with serious injuries. In the end, he rose into the sky and landed on the head of the statue. He sat down with his legs crossed and unleashed the power of the Martial Highness realm. It encapsulated the statue like a huge net. Crap! Stop him! Many cultivators who were fighting one another were startled. They quickly shifted their positions and executed a series of Tao arts at Chen Shuryan. From afar, it looked like a peerless torrent was trying to devour everything. Even if it was Chen Shuryan, if he really faced it head-on, he might not be able to withstand it. However, Chen Shuryan remained still in the nick of time, as if he was completely immersed in the statue. He was unaware of the danger that was approaching him. Boom! A strange sight took place. When the Tao arts were 100 zhang away from Chen Shuryan, they collapsed into light dots as if they had collided with an invisible barrier. That's the power of the soul. Could it be that once it's refined by someone, it can't be stopped? The faces of many Peak 9 Heavens Supremes darkened. If it was really as they had guessed, then wouldn't they have no chance of obtaining this soul? All of a sudden, Chen Shuryan's body shuddered violently as blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth. The 9 Heavens Supreme Force encapsulating the statue began to shrink rapidly. It only covered the top of the statue in the end. Chen Shuryan can't refine the entire soul in one go? The Peak 9 Heavens Supremes immediately realized what was going on. Right now, they were unable to shake Chen Shuryan, but they could still fly above the statue and refine it. This was the same as the objects formed from the body parts outside. If there were several cultivators together, in order to avoid killing each other, they could choose to refine them together. In an instant, the chaotic battle became even more chaotic. Most of the 9 Heavens Supremes were charging at the statue and fighting one another. Only a few of them were fighting one another for the 3 mountains. As for Qin Nan, he did not overthink it after sensing the changes. He was indeed interested in the soul of a Supreme Master, but he did not have the chance to do so now. Buzz! The 9 dragons seal that had been lying dormant deep inside Qin Nan's soul suddenly flew into his divine sense. It shuddered and emitted a glow. Qin Nan felt a great chill running down his spine. Nothing good had ever happened to him since he obtained it. Now that it was reacting all of a sudden, could it be that the Tao tribulation was coming? The 9-dragon stone seal seemed to have sensed the thoughts of its master. It shook violently, and after expressing its dissatisfaction, it suddenly burst out with hundreds of 9-colored threads and quickly sank into the statue. A pure soul force flowed into Qin Nan's body. The aura and will of a master of Tao surged into his divine sense too. This, Qin Nan was startled. Did the 9-dragon seal just set up a bridge for him to refine the soul of a master of Tao? None of the peak 9 heavens supremes noticed the existence of the hundreds of threads. They did not look at him in surprise. TSK, it seems like I've misunderstood you. You're quite useful after all. Qin Nan's lips curled upward slightly as he immediately tried to control the strings. As he thought, he could control the strings with his divine sense. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. He immediately split the threads and placed them on the neck, abdomen, and legs of the statue. He did not cover the rest of the statue because Chen Shurian's reaction proved that it was not easy to refine the soul of the statue. Secondly, if the other cultivators rushed to the top of the statue and found that there was no place for them to refine, they would definitely be puzzled. Refine. Qin Nan let out a groan in his heart as he fully activated the power of the strings. Streams of incomparably pure and boundless soul energy entered his body, causing his soul to continuously strengthen and sublimate. Qin Nan had been relying on the divine battle spirit. He had never refined his own soul, nor did he put much effort into it. However, Qin Nan already sensed great benefits when he had just started refining the soul. It felt like the world was clearer to him now. The benefits would be unimaginable if he was able to refine the soul in the end. Qin Nan suddenly sensed the aura, presence, and will of the Master of Tao surging through the strings. In a short span of a breath, he had reached an incomparably inconceivable level. Could it be? Chapter 2091. Qin Nan was left speechless upon hearing the words. How many times had he been through this? Why did these experts keep trying to devour his body and come back to life? Qin Nan decided to remind Master Qihao after a slight hesitation. Senior, I've benefited a lot from you, so I think it's better for you to devour someone else if you don't want to vanish into thin air. The deafening voice immediately appeared, filled with disdain. Vanish like smoke? Brat, don't use this kind of little trick to make a fool of yourself. Do you think I, Master Qihao, am a coward? Following it, Qin Nan felt the scenery before him turning illusionary. A magnificent figure with a tremendous aura walked toward him and entered his divine sense. Qin Nan shrugged. In this day and age, no one would believe the truth. Holy crap! You've practiced 12 arts of Tao seeking? Ha! The heavens are really helping me. I didn't think I would stumble into an extraordinary cultivator. I won't have any trouble achieving the ruler realm. Master Qihao was overjoyed after being startled at first. However, his smile froze when he sensed the presence of the divine battle spirit before he could make his move. The souls of the immortals? You're the successor of the immortals? Qin Nan said calmly, Senior Qihao, it's not too late for you to stop now. Master Qihao's expression shifted as he collected his thoughts. His eyes flickered viciously. Stop? How ridiculous! I, Qihao, have roamed the 9 heavens for 3,000 years. The word stop doesn't exist in my dictionary. So what if you have the souls of the immortals? I'm going to devour the souls of the immortals too. A magnificent aura burst out of his body. Master Qihao was about to make his move. However, the blood orb in Qin Nan's dantian suddenly emitted 2 rays of light. The wisps of will that belonged to Supreme Highness Zhou Di and Huang Fu Ju burst out of it. Bang! The heavens fell and the earth cracked. The great Tao collapsed. Master Chihao's magnificent figure and formidable aura completely vanished at that instant. He was as tiny as an ant or a speck of dust. He would be drowned in it at any second. F***ck. Master Chihao's face turned pale. What was going on? How could a mere 9 heavens supreme in the greater success stage possess 2 terrifying wills? Based on his many years of experience, these 2 wills definitely belonged to a sovereign. No, that wasn't right. He had surpassed the sovereign realm and reached the celestial realm. However, Master Chihao, who had gone through countless dangers and even died once, reacted quickly. He immediately stopped what he was doing and withdrew his aura as soon as the 2 terrifying wills appeared. He shivered in fear in a corner. The 2 terrifying wills seemed to be satisfied with his performance. They came and left quickly. Qin Nan's sea of consciousness began to return to normal. Fortunately, Master Chihao was on the verge of collapsing. He was so close to wasting the effort he had put in for a few hundred years. Senior Chihao, you survived? Qin Nan was astounded. It was the first time someone had tried to devour him without being crushed into pieces. Cough cough, I was just lucky. Master Chihao wore an awkward expression. He forced his tone to become gentler. Cultivator, why don't we just pretend nothing happened? I'll leave right away. I'll give you a great gift after I devour someone else. As the saying went, a real man should know when to yield and when not to. Master Chihao chose to submit without any hesitation. Qin Nan was amused. He teased, Senior Chihao, didn't you say you weren't scared? Aren't you going to devour the souls of the immortals too? Why are you leaving now? Master Chihao cursed in his heart, yet he forced a smile on his face. Cultivator, I was being impulsive. Please don't mind it. How about this? I'll stay in your divine sense for the time being. I'll bring you to the Wuyue Palace and you'll let me go. What do you think? Master Chihao knew it was impossible for Qin Nan to let him go for free. He could only promise Qin Nan some benefit. After all, he was not allowed to touch the Wuyue Palace. He was only bringing Qin Nan inside. Qin Nan frowned. Wuyue Palace? What's that? Master Chihao was startled. You don't know about the Wuyue Palace? Could it be that when you came in, you didn't notice that a palace appeared in front of me and the other guy's corpse? Oh, I understand now. That Wuyue Palace must have appeared after you entered the corpse of the other guy. Master Chihao scratched his head and said mysteriously, Cultivator, I bet you have a feeling that everything here is controlled by a terrifying force, right? Qin Nan said with a shudder, That's true. Is the Wuyue Palace the terrifying force behind all this? Master Chihao nodded. That's right. Originally, the Wuyue Palace would only appear when the land of the duo opened 3 more times after this event. My body will only appear at that time, but I don't know why, but everything has changed this time. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. It was obvious that the 2 seeds of eternity were the cause of everything. What's inside the Wuyue Palace? Qin Nan asked. To be honest, I'm not trying to trick you. I have no idea what's inside the Wuyue Palace. I was killed by the Mumen sect in the Void Heaven realm. I was planning to dig myself a grave and leave some successions before my will dissipated. However, a mysterious force brought me to the land of the duo. Another voice conversed with me and agreed to cooperate with me. I was then brought to a place inside the Wuyue Palace. I was only released after some strange changes. Master Chihao shook his head. All right, I'll let you go if you bring me there. Qin Nan nodded after a slight ponder. He was very interested in the power behind all of this. Now that the opportunity had come, he definitely wouldn't want to miss it. Meanwhile, a loud roar exploded in front of Qin Nan. Qin Nan, how dare you be distracted while fighting me? You really don't put me in your eyes. The person was none other than Supreme South World. Now, his eyes were filled with anger. Oh, I'm sorry, I was busy. Chapter 2092. Supreme South World changed the hand seal he was performing. 12 completely different auras rose from his body. Isn't that? Qin Nan was startled. He was very familiar with the 12 auras. They were the 12 arts of Tao seeking that he practiced. Qin Nan, you were distracted, so I didn't kill you. I was waiting for this moment. Your extraordinary path of cultivation is mine from today onward. Supreme South World grinned. An ancient pattern slowly rose from his body. At that instant, an enormous force burst out and collided with the force unleashed by Qin Nan's Tao pattern. A series of explosions took place in the rift. The two Tao patterns stood opposite one another. The 9 Heavens Supremes nearby lost their brilliance, as if the two Tao patterns were everything in the world. What's going on? Did Supreme South World learn Qin Nan's extraordinary path of cultivation? The eyes of many 9 Heavens Supremes flickered with astonishment when they saw it. Only Zhuang Nan was smiling as if he was not surprised at all. Holy crap, isn't that the 10th Immortal's Tao of stealing? The 10th Immortal has shown up too? Master Qihao was surprised. What exactly happened in the past 1,000 years after his death? Why would the 10 Immortals show up now? Tao of stealing? Is it the art of Tao seeking that can steal other people's Tao arts and arts of Tao seeking? Qin Nan asked. Not exactly. The 10th Immortal's Tao of stealing is a very special soul power. I have no idea how it came about. However, it can indeed steal other people's Tao arts and arts of Tao seeking. Master Qihao said. I see. Qin Nan squinted. He had to admit that Supreme South World was no longer the same as before. The battle had given him a lot of pressure. However, Qin Nan noticed that the auras of Supreme South World's 12 arts of Tao seeking and the Tao pattern were extremely vague. It was similar to the power of the 7 fleshes that Supreme South World had used before. According to Qin Nan's speculation, Supreme South World had only stolen the surface instead of its essence. Otherwise, it wouldn't be an ordinary horror. Qin Nan, do you think that what I stole was only the surface? Supreme South World seemed to have read Qin Nan's mind. He let out a hollow laugh. So what if it's only on the surface? With your extraordinary path and the 7 great constitutions, can you still resist? As soon as he finished speaking, the power of the 7 ancient constitutions surged out of his body. 7 into 1 transformed the southern gate. Supreme South World performed another hand seal. An enormous illusionary gate appeared in the rift and absorbed the power of the 7 fleshes. It immediately underwent a tremendous change. A terrifying aura surged across the place. The door was no longer illusionary. 7 different ancient runes had formed a pattern on it, giving it an indescribable murderous aura, as if it could suppress all deities and demons in the heavens and earth. Qin Nan lifted his gaze. His blue-red hair drifted in the wind. It reminded him of the time when he was facing the South Heaven Gate in the past. South World, the difference between the surface and the essence is like the difference between the heavens and earth. If I was able to break through your South Heaven Gate in the past, I can break through your Tao of Tao seeking now. A tremendous aura burst out of Qin Nan's body. His Tao pattern buzzed vigorously and unleashed a formidable force to knock Supreme South World's Tao pattern back. His figure sprang into action too. The will of the 12 arts of Tao seeking and his will merged with the heaven-shattering saber. It turned into a brilliant glow. Bang! Strong gusts of wind surged in all directions. Qin Nan was gone. The gate was gone too. It was replaced by a magnificent saber glow and a blue ray colliding with one another. Qin Nan, you are going to lose today. Supreme South World let out a roar. He fully unleashed the supreme force in his body. The rift was in chaos. Many 9 Heaven Supremes who were fighting against one another were startled. They would look at the rift at times. Is the outcome of the battle about to be decided? The hearts of the 9 heavens supremes skipped a beat. The hand seals they were performing came to a halt. Bang! An even more shocking explosion resounded in all directions. The saber glow and the blue ray vanished as a figure soared into the sky. It was none other than Qin Nan. On the other hand, Supreme South World's face turned pale. He spat out a mouthful of blood as his aura weakened. The outcome of the battle was obvious. How is this? Supreme South World clenched his teeth. His eyes were bloodshot. His South Heaven Gate had lost the battle, and now his Tao of Stealing had lost the battle too? What was going on? Useless. Zhuang Nan's expression instantly turned extremely ugly as he cursed, before roaring, "Are you guys just watching from the sidelines? Qin Nan has expended a lot of energy. Hurry up and kill him." The Peak 9 Heavens Supremes who were following behind Supreme South World immediately collected their thoughts. They executed their Tao arts to attack Qin Nan. Art of Taiyan. Qin Nan's battle intent and imperious aura grew stronger. He was like a peerless emperor looking down at the Peak 9 Heavens Supremes. He pointed at them. It was the other killing move he had yet to use, the combination of 5 Tao arts. A chaotic battle took place once again. Meanwhile, 3 Peak 9 Heavens Supremes went up to the statue one after another. They shared the remaining energy of the soul and refined it. The rest of the cultivators were still fighting one another to go up the statue, yet they soon realized they could not get any closer to the statue. Isn't there still a lot of energy left? A question appeared in the minds of many people. However, they did not relate it to Qin Nan. They all assumed only 4 people could refine the soul statue, thus they gave up in disappointment. However, the situation was still a mess. There were still 2 mountains that had yet to be claimed. As for Qin Nan, he was multitasking. He was attacking with all his might while refining the energy. A few hundred breaths later, his figure shuddered as he absorbed the remaining energy of his soul. At this moment, his own soul also underwent a shocking transformation. Chapter 2093. Master Chihao's illusionary figure sat with his legs crossed in Qin Nan's divine sense. He said sternly, "I have a secret art of the soul. It's the foundation of my cultivation. I won't teach it to anyone else, but now is the right time. I shall lend you a hand with it." His hands kept changing as he began to perform ancient hand seals. At the same time, he was uttering some obscure and abstruse chants. Qin Nan's figure stiffened as an indescribable feeling rose up from his soul, reaching his heart and colliding with his divine sense. As Master Chihao chanted more chants, the feeling grew stronger and more frequent. It kept surging like a tide. Everything became illusionary all of a sudden, as if a string had snapped. It felt like he had arrived in the clouds. Everything felt weightless, but at the same time, he felt like he had arrived at the bottom of the ocean with a strong pressure. Is that? Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. The soul of a master of Tao isn't precious because of its outstanding power, but the ability to sense the power of the master realm after refining it. It's very beneficial for you to achieve the master realm in the future. Master Chihao's voice appeared out of nowhere. As I thought. Qin Nan immediately calmed his thoughts and carefully sensed the changes around him. At that instant, it was as if time had come to a stop. Everything was frozen. Only Qin Nan himself was able to walk in the clouds and move in the deep sea. A while later, a hint of realization surfaced in Qin Nan's mind. Master was the Tao. When one achieved the Tao, one would become the master. The Tao included every living being. 9 heavens supremes and martial emperors were all part of the Tao. When one achieved the Tao, they were still part of the Tao, but they were on par with the Tao. The Tao was the Tao and one was oneself. Whoosh! All of a sudden, Qin Nan collected his thoughts and came to a realization. Everything was the same as before. It felt like a long time had passed, but it was actually less than half a breath's time. You're such a weirdo. You're only in the greater success stage of the 9 heavens supreme realm, yet you're able to comprehend it. Master Chihao's lips twisted. He yelled, "Get ready, I'll refine the will of the master realm for you." Saying this, Master Chihao drew a strange symbol on his palms and pressed it downward. 1. Qin Nan only felt that his soul seemed to have become a huge net that was cast into the darkness. He pulled back and dragged out a strange thing that was as long as a middle finger, as thin as a hair, and had a faint golden color. It quickly sank into his dantian. A shocking sight took place. His supreme force of the Tao-melting immortal flames was actually being pushed back by the strange object. Is this the will of the master realm? Qin Nan's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. It was common knowledge that a person's will was illusory and ethereal. It could be used to buff people, deter them, or attack their opponents. However, Qin Nan had never seen a person's will condensed into a substance. Besides, the wisp of will of the master realm did not belong to anyone. It belonged to Qin Nan. Hee, have you learned something new? Don't just stand there, I can still refine it. Master Chihao was quite proud of himself. He had finally reclaimed his dignity as an expert of the master realm from Qin Nan. He repeated the same action twice. Qin Nan had 2 wisps of will in his dantian. The strange feeling in his soul finally calmed down. Everything else calmed down too. Sigh, my soul is too weak. I can't hold on any longer after refining 3 wisps of will. Master Chihao let out a sigh. Senior Chihao, thank you. Qin Nan blurted out after collecting his thoughts. The will of a master of Tao was extremely precious. For example, Qin Nan had obtained a wisp of will from the peak 9 heavens supreme that he had killed in Gonggong City. He merged it with his Tao weapon to strengthen it. Besides, the wisp of will was not without a master. In simpler words, he could merge the 3 Tao essences in his body with his attacks when he was in danger. He could also refine them when he was attempting to achieve the master realm. He could also use them as a deterrent against certain things. It was extremely useful. It's nothing, you don't have to be so courteous with me. Master Chihao waved his hand. He was not a kind man. He had only helped Qin Nan because of the will of the 2 heaven highnesses in Qin Nan's body. He knew the young man was no ordinary person. It might come in handy in the future if he managed to befriend Qin Nan. Qin Nan stopped being courteous. He looked at the peak 9 heavens supremes in front of him and let out a sigh. The aura emanating from his body immediately underwent some sort of change. At Qin Nan's current level, even a little enlightenment was enough to improve his strength significantly. Supreme South World and the peak 9 heavens supremes were startled. They were aware of the changes too. The successor of the 10th immortal seems like a good candidate. Should I take the chance to rob him when he's seriously injured? Master Chihao was deep in thought when he suddenly sensed something. His eyes widened as he blurted out, "Kid, something bad is happening. We have to leave at once." Qin Nan was startled. He immediately executed the Sky Stride blow and executed the Tao pattern without any hesitation. It pulled Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan into it and flew to the other side. "Hey, Xiao Nanzi, you, Qin Nan, don't you dare!" Many people were taken by surprise by his sudden move. Qin Nan, Zhuang Nan, Meng Langtian, the peak 9 heavens supremes, and Chen Shuryan and the others who were refining the last bit of soul energy on the statues sensed great danger. Thud! Hundreds of cracks immediately appeared on the space, as if it had just received a great impact. One of them was over 100,000 zhang long and over 5,000 zhang wide. It looked like an enormous dragon. Whoosh! 2 large, bronze-colored hands suddenly reached out from the crack and grabbed both sides of the crack tightly. Then, the veins on the giant hand bulged and the ancient blood surged. Two incomparably majestic forces exploded and pulled in two directions. The entire small space was instantly torn apart. The ground shook vigorously as strong gusts of wind swept across the place. Above the crowd, there was a boundless darkness. At the same time, there was an incomparably tall, incomparably huge figure that emitted a monstrous aura floating in the air. Chapter 2094. What's going on? The 9 Heavens Supremes could feel their scalp turning numb. Qin Nan, Zhuang Nan, Chen Shuryan, and the rest of the Peak 9 Heavens Supremes felt a great chill running down their spines too. Holy crap, did someone just refine that guy? Master Qihao could not believe his eyes. One must know that their bodies, under the control of that terrifying power, had completely transformed into a world within their bodies. In other words, the person would not only have to refine their souls and wills, they would have to refine their vital parts too. Besides, the process would have to be carried out simultaneously. Even an expert in the early stage of the Master Realm would struggle to do it, let alone a Peak 9 Heavens Supreme. Hang on, his eyes are still in the shape of blood-red vortices. It means he hasn't been refined yet. He's still able to shrink his body and move on his own when he's being refined. That is to say, the wills of the person who refined him and the corpse itself should still be clashing on a deeper level. It's just that the former has already gained the upper hand, while the latter is unwilling to compromise and counterattack fiercely. This corpse is under the influence of Qi. Master Qihao's heart skipped a beat. He blurted out, "Kid, leave my body at once. The corpse's will hasn't stabilized yet. It's in a frenzy." Even though the corpse of a master of Tao who had lost control of its will was only a tenth of its strength when it was at its peak, and its life force was already depleted, it was still a master of Tao. Besides, both of the corpses were peak masters of Tao when they were alive. How terrifying would it be if they were to go crazy? However, his words were still a beat too slow. "Kill!" The corpse of the Master of Tao let out a hoarse roar into the sky. It immediately stirred up great storms in the boundless darkness. A series of explosions took place in the rift. The ground began to crack open. Bang! The corpse of the Master of Tao made its move. It threw a punch at the crowd at a terrifying speed. "Crap, let's attack together." Everyone's expression changed drastically. This punch looked ordinary, but the power contained within it, as well as the formless momentum within it, was too vast. It was as if it was carrying a great world, capable of crushing everything in its path. Any one of them was going to die if they were to face the attack alone. Their only chance of survival was to team up. Tao Pattern. Power of the 7 Fleshes, Immortal Slaying Sword. Union of Man and Soul, Heaven Highness / Qin Nan, Zhuang Nan, Chen Shuryan, and the rest of the 9 Heavens Supremes executed their strongest attacks without holding back. Damn it, you're almost being refined by a 9 Heavens Supreme. You're such a piece of trash. Master Qihao's hands. Heaven Highness Slaying Sword. His Highness slaying heavens on slan his body's azons. Bang bang. A series of shocking explosions took place. The rift was turned into a huge mess while the ground cracked into thousands of pieces. Qin Nan's Tao pattern was knocked back into his body. Following the great impact, it felt like he had been struck by a hammer. His blood and qi became restless as a great pain penetrated his brain. Blood leaked out from his mouth. Just this rebounding force alone had caused him quite a bit of damage. Meanwhile, the other Peak 9 Heavens Supremes such as Zhuang Nan, Chen Shuryan, and the others were in the same situation. The 9 Heavens Supremes in the greater success stage were even more severely injured. Their faces were extremely pale. It was only a single punch from the corpse of the Master of Tao. Furthermore, their lineup could be said to be incomparably large. Xiao Nanzi, are you alright? Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan were worried. I'm fine. Qin Nan quickly executed the sky-stride blow and flew toward the vortexes. Run! The 9 heavens supremes quickly collected their thoughts and turned into rays of light. Kill! The eyes of the enormous corpse of the Master of Tao emitted a tremendous blood glow. It started destroying everything in the place. Qin Nan reacted in time. He was the first to enter the vortexes. Zhuang Nan, Chen Shuryan, and the peak 9 heavens supremes quickly flew into the vortexes too. Only the 9 heavens supremes in the greater success stage, who were severely injured, did not manage to escape in time. They were crushed into pieces by the overwhelming force. A few moments later, Qin Nan and his crew, Zhuang Nan, Supreme South World, Meng Langtian, and a few others flew out of the vortexes. The moment they landed in this small world, they sensed that something was wrong. They saw that the sky above them had many cracks of different sizes. They could sense the auras of the 2 masters of Tao through the cracks. Damn it, that **** has broken through many parts of my body, Master Chihao said in a displeased tone. Even though he no longer had anything to do with the body. Kid, don't stop, hurry up and fly out of here. That **** is catching up to us soon. Master Chihao yelled as a thought crossed his mind. The Wuyue Palace has appeared outside. That **** won't be able to catch up to us if we go inside. As soon as he finished the sentence, a terrifying aura surged toward him from the unseen world. It was obvious that the corpse of the Master of Tao was tearing the vortex open with a destructive force to reappear in the world. Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. He immediately transmitted his thoughts to Meng Langtian before flying out of the place. When Qin Nan and the others flew out of the place, they were startled by the sight they saw. Several 9 heavens supremes were flying out of the enormous corpse of Master Chihao. Some were in serious injuries, while others were in a panic. Xiang Han and the others of the Sherdao tribe, Zheng Weiyuan, Han Qiuying, Chao Ling, and the other saints and saintesses. In addition to it, a 5-floored palace over 100,000 zhang tall appeared in the darkness in front of Master Chihao's corpse. It was emitting a faint glow and an ancient aura. On the door of the palace there were 3 bold and powerful words. Wuyue Palace. Chapter 2095. Qin Nan. A voice appeared in Qin Nan's divine sense. Qin Nan looked in the direction of the voice and saw Supreme Huanglei standing beside Holy Monk Wang Jin and the others. Supreme Huanglei glanced at him. Qin Nan understood what he meant and looked away. Supreme Huanglei's voice appeared in Qin Nan's divine sense again. The corpse of the Master of Tao belongs to the Li clan. Li Chongqing is trying to refine its vital parts with the power of its lineage. The will of the corpse of the Master of Tao didn't object to it, but Li Chongqing is too greedy. He wants to refine the corpse of the Master of Tao, including its soul and will. The will of the corpse of the Master of Tao was infuriated. It immediately retaliated. The 2 wills were in a deeper conflict, which caused the corpse of the Master of Tao to go insane. Supreme Huanglei blurted out, "We immediately ran away from the corpse of the Master of Tao when we noticed something wasn't right. However, the corpse of the Master of Tao kept chasing after us. We were surprised to find that the corpse of the Master of Tao was afraid of us when we were close to the Wuyue Palace. It stopped attacking us." Qin Nan's heart was filled with warmth. He said, "Senior, thank you." The words were very useful. He quickly understood the situation and the reason behind it. Even though it was not a big deal, he was no longer a disciple of the Sky Taihuang sect. He had never brought any benefits to the Sky Taihuang sect. Fellow cultivators, the corpse of the Master of Tao might show up again. If you don't want to die here, please join us and break the gate so we can enter the palace, Holy Monk Wang Jin said. Holy Monk Wang Jin spoke. His thunderous voice echoed in everyone's ears. The 9 Heavens Supremes who came out from Master Kihushin's body immediately executed their Tao arts without any hesitation. Qin Nan and the others did the same too. However, when Qin Nan approached the entrance, several murderous intents locked onto him. It was obvious that Holy Monk Wang Jin, Taoist Qianlong, Supreme Wanqing, and the rest of the factions, Zhuang Nan, Supreme South World, and the rest of the 9 Heavens Supremes knew it was their best chance to eliminate Qin Nan. I say, is there any point in keeping an eye on a junior? Meng Langtian regained his laziness. Seniors, the enemy is right in front of us. Let's put everything else aside for now. Zheng Weiyuan, Han Qiuying, and Chao Ling smiled faintly. Xiang Han grinned and casually stood beside Qin Nan. When did these forces stand on Qin Nan's side? Could it be Holy Monk Wang Jin, Taoist Qianlong, Supreme Wanqing, and the others immediately thought of a possibility. Seeing this, Zhuang Nan cursed in his heart. At the same time, various thoughts flashed through his mind. He was thinking of a plan to kill Qin Nan here. Right at this moment. Bang! A shocking explosion took place. The chest of Master Qihao, who was lying in the air, was shattered into pieces by a terrifying force. The corpse of the Master of Tao burst out from the chest and began to expand. In less than a breath's time, the corpse of the Master of Tao was 5 times bigger than when Qin Nan and the others first encountered it. It was like an ancient mountain. Every 9 Heavens Supreme was smaller than a strand of its hair. His blood-red vortex eyes stared at all the cultivators in front of the 3 Moons Palace. He was like a demon wolf that hadn't eaten for thousands of years and had found food. His frenzied aura became even stronger. Kill! The corpse of the Master of Tao let out a roar. The rift nearby was filled with chaos as it charged at the 9 Heavens Supremes. Buzz! Meanwhile, the Wuyue Palace let out a soft chime. The brilliance it emitted increased tenfold, as if it was an ancient sun. The corpse of the Master of Tao shuddered as if it was under great pressure. It slowed down significantly, yet it showed no sign of stopping. Holy Monk Wang Jin and the others were startled. As they had speculated, the corpse of the Master of Tao that had gone mad would target them again if Master Qihao did not have any cultivators left. Everyone, the corpse was in the peak master realm when it was alive, but it's only in the greater success stage at most now. Besides, it doesn't have any intelligence, so it can't use Tao arts or master arts. Since there are so many of us here, why don't we work together and kill it? Taoist Qianlong unleashed a murderous aura with a sharp gaze. No way. Holy Monk Wang Jin rejected the suggestion decisively. We might have the advantage in numbers, but I believe you have all been through a lot. You have expended a lot of your strength. It's hard to tell who will win if we work together. Many 9 Heavens Supremes nodded, especially those who were severely injured. Their eyes flickered with determination. If they were to fight now, they would only be cannon fodder. They would die for sure. Then Taoist Qianlong was displeased. He was about to say something. Before he could finish, the corpse of the Master of Tao let out a deep roar. A shocking sight took place. The void master bugs that had disappeared previously crawled out of the corpse of the Master of Tao and Master Qihao's broken body. They soon formed a sea of bugs. More importantly, their fear of the Wuyue Palace seemed to be much smaller. Their crawling movements were only slightly slower. The 9 Heavens Supremes were startled. They had a great chance to eliminate the corpse of the Master of Tao since they had the advantage in numbers. But what about now? Fellow cultivators, let's break the gate and go inside before we decide what to do next. Holy Monk Wang Jin let out a harsh cry. The 9 Heavens Supremes immediately executed their Tao arts upon collecting their thoughts. The gate of the Wuyue Palace was made of some kind of ancient immortal rock. It was engraved with all kinds of formations and forbidding auras. However, under the impact of the Taoist techniques, cracks quickly appeared on it. In the end, it shattered into pieces with a loud bang. A strong presence of immortal chi burst out of it. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Everyone began to move. They turned into immortal rays and entered the palace. Chapter 2096. Holy monk Wanjin said sternly. The 9 heavens supremes of the ancient Bodhi temple unleashed their auras. Taoist Qianlong harumphed coldly. The 9 heavens supremes of the extreme living gate spread out and scanned the place. The smile on Supreme Wanqing's face disappeared. Even though she did not do anything, her attitude was obvious. Some of the 9 heavens supremes who were thinking of doing something immediately came to a stop. Most of the 9 heavens supremes were well aware of the situation. They did not object to it. Holy monk, what should we do now? Are we going to wait here for them to come? A peak 9 heavens supreme asked. Yes and no. I believe all of you have seen how the Wuyue Palace is suppressing the corpse of the Master of Tao. I believe the corpse of the Master of Tao won't be able to enter the palace. If it can't enter, then everything will be easy to handle. However, this is just my guess and I can't say for sure. If I'm wrong, we only have one choice. We have to fight the corpse of the Master of Tao. Otherwise, we might die if we split up and venture deeper into the palace. Holy monk Wangjin said. That bald donkey isn't as simple as he looks. Master Chihao smacked his lips. The corpse of the Master of Tao won't be able to enter the palace? Qin Nan asked. You'll find out soon enough. Master Chihao chuckled. He kept looking at the 9 heavens supremes, trying to find his prey. Many 9 heavens supremes whispered among themselves after hearing Holy monk Wangjin's words. However, most of them did not object to it. Some of the injured 9 heavens supremes even sat down with their legs crossed to recover from their injuries. Then, most of the people looked outside the palace. A formless atmosphere started to spread out in all directions, giving off an extremely heavy feeling. It's coming in. A peak 9 heavens supreme's eyes widened around 100 breaths later. The enormous corpse of the Master of Tao shrunk rapidly and stopped when it was around 100 zhang away. It was charging at the entrance with the void master bugs. Many 9 heavens supremes were startled. Bang! A thunderous explosion rang out. More than 10,000 golden runes appeared at the empty entrance and formed a rune gate. It blocked the corpse of the Master of Tao and the void master bugs from entering the place. Kill! The corpse of the Master of Tao was infuriated when it was stopped. It let out a roar and threw punches at Qin Nan. However, even though each of his punches contained an unstoppable force, he could only slightly shake the runic door. He was unable to charge in at all. He really can't enter. Many 9 heavens supremes were overjoyed. Fellow cultivators, it's too early to celebrate. According to my observation, the wall can only hold off the corpse of the Master of Tao for less than 4 days. Holy monk Wanjin said calmly. He glanced at Taoist Qianlong and the others. What do you think? Taoist Qianlong, Supreme Wanqing, and the peak 9 heavens supremes did not say a word. It was obvious that they agreed. Qin Nan nodded too. According to his observation with the immortal eyes of the divine god of battle, the wall of runes could only hold off the corpse of the Master of Tao for 3 days and 3 hours at most. Wangjin, just tell us what you're planning to do. Chen Shuryan said calmly. All right. Everyone knows that we have to stay for a month to leave the land of the duo. According to my speculation, it's possible to leave if the 2 corpses of the Master of Tao are fully refined by someone. However, we can't fulfill either of those requirements. There are still 20 days left until the deadline. If we split up now, who here is confident that they won't be killed by the corpse of the Master of Tao in 20 days? I believe even Cultivator Chen isn't confident about it. Holy monk Wangjin said. You're saying, Taoist Qianlong frowned. That's right, according to my suggestion, we will gather here in 3 days to fight it. You are free to move around and look for successions and fortunate encounters. You can also use the opportunity to recover your 9 heavens supreme force and recover from your injuries. Of course, before that, we will all swear an immortal demon oath and the great oath of the heavens and earth. The 3 supreme Taoism factions will also record everyone's names in a scroll. We will also hunt down those who don't show up. Holy monk Wang Jin said. A great uproar took place on the grassland. However, when Taoist Qianlong, Supreme Wanqing, and the saints expressed their opinions, the crowd gradually calmed down. The 9 heavens supremes began to swear their oaths. The disciples of the 3 supreme Taoism factions began to record their names too. Chao Ling glanced at Xiang Han when everything was done. He said with a smile, "Friend Qin Nan, the situation is a little complicated. Why don't we go and take a look?" Xiang Han immediately said, "Yeah, some people are shameless. They might try to take advantage of the situation." Not far away, Zhuang Nan's mouth twitched violently. "Thank you very much, everyone. Let's go together." Qin Nan smiled. He brought his fists together and flew forward with the 2 women. "Damn it, don't let me find the chance. Otherwise, I'm going to take you all out too." Zhuang Nan cursed in his heart. He gave out the order. The 9 heavens supremes on the grassland split up into groups of various sizes. But now, everyone was flying forward, because in the vast grassland, there were only 99 rays of light shining in front of them. A few moments later, Qin Nan and the others came to a stop. 99 rays of light had appeared in front of them. They soared into the sky with no end in sight. They had no idea where they led to. Is this the 100 Tao dilemma? It is indeed the 100 Tao dilemma. According to the rumors, the 100 Tao dilemma is specifically used for trials. If you can pick the right path and overcome the difficulties, you will find great fortunate encounters. Everyone's faces were filled with excitement. No one present was a fool. They all knew very well that the land of the duo was being controlled by an extremely terrifying power. Now that the Wuyue palace that had never shown up in the land of the duo had shown up all of a sudden, it was fairly obvious what it was implying. "Kid, I've squeezed my way into the 3rd and 10th paths before. The 3rd path is extremely dangerous. You better not go there. If you go to the 10th path, you'll be able to reach the 2nd floor." Master Qihao sounded excited too. Chapter 2097. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. When he first entered the place where Master Qihao's statue was located, the purple key had already reacted to him. Now that it was reacting again, could it be that Qin Nan quickly inserted his divine sense into the key? As he thought, he felt something calling out to him. He took a closer look and realized it was from the 86th Tao of Light. "Senior Qihao, do you know what the key is for?" Qin Nan asked. What key? Holy crap!" Master Qihao straightened his back. His eyes widened. "I once heard that among the 99 paths of the 100 Taos, there is something called the 3 mysterious doors at the end of 3 paths. No one can open the doors no matter how strong their cultivation is. They can only be opened with a specially crafted key." Qin Nan's eyes glittered. "What's inside the 3 mystical gates?" Master Qihao shook his head and said, "I have no idea. I didn't even go to the 2nd floor. However, the 3 mystical gates are so mysterious. There must be something useful inside." Master Qihao's eyes flickered passionately. He had already made up his mind. He would not devour anyone before entering the 3 mystical gates with Qin Nan. "I didn't expect the thing I got from the 3 Moons Pagoda is related to the 100 Taos. Wait, there were 2 keys in the 3 Moons Pagoda. I only took one of them." Qin Nan turned around as a thought crossed his mind. Zhuang Nan happened to look in his direction too. He must have noticed the key too. "Qin Nan, let's not beat around the bush. Let's keep this between us. I won't trouble you for the time being, nor will I send anyone to follow you. What do you think?" Zhuang Nan transmitted his voice. Qin Nan was currently being followed by the people of a few formidable factions. It would be extremely difficult to kill him. Instead of falling out with Qin Nan, it was better to find out the secret behind the key. "Sure." Qin Nan nodded. He knew what Master Qihao was thinking. He told the two women about it. "Fellow Taoists, thank you for your help." Qin Nan glanced at Meng Langtian, Xiang Han, Zheng Weiyuan, and the others. He brought his fists together and said, "I happened to stumble upon something that reacted to one of the paths of light. Why don't we go and take a look?" If he acted on his own, even if Zhuang Nan and the others kept their promise, the three supreme Taoism factions and some cultivators in the dark would still target him. Therefore, it was best for him to team up with them. "Haha, that's great. I was just wondering which one to choose." Meng Langtian laughed loudly. Xiang Han, Zheng Weiyuan, Han Qiuying, Chao Ling, and the others pondered for a moment before nodding in agreement. The 9 Heavens Supremes made their moves too. They flew into the glowing paths. Wisps of divine sense and eyes were scanning Qin Nan from time to time. Qin Nan remained expressionless. He waited until most of the cultivators had left before flying toward the 86th light path with the others. Time gradually passed. Qin Nan chatted with the saints along the way. They discussed the current situation, martial arts, cultivation, etc. A while later, Qin Nan had a rough understanding of the group's personalities. Zheng Weiyuan was smooth and slick in dealing with people. He had a faint smile on his face from beginning to end, without any other fluctuations in his emotions. Chao Ling was a little dull. He did not say a word. He only listened to the conversation quietly. Han Qiuying was a little strange. She would occasionally glance at Princess Miao Miao and Jiang Bailan. Qin Nan could not help but feel a chill running down his spine. Xiang Han's words seemed to be careless, but in reality, there was finesse in his coarse words. He often said shocking things, and could be considered a clever person. As for Meng Langtian, he did not have the demeanor of a patriarch at all. He had no integrity at all. He kept talking about the resources and resources. He would even place bets whenever there was a disagreement. However, because of his presence, the atmosphere was quite lively and pleasant. Half an hour later, the calm path began to change. The surroundings gradually fell into darkness. Even with their eye techniques and divine sense, they could only see within 5 zhang of them. All kinds of killing intent began to appear one after another. There were illusionary ghosts, ancient soldiers, and all kinds of formations and prohibitions. That being said, Qin Nan's group was quite impressive. They were able to push past the danger without slowing down at all. Just like that, a full 4 hours passed. No one knew how far they had walked before a little bit of light appeared at the end of the darkness. "Damn it, we're finally here." What was the master of the Wuyue Palace thinking? Why did they make it so long? Meng Langtian grumbled. The group picked up their pace and flew into the light. As they passed through the light, the group was startled. They saw that they had arrived at a vast battlefield. The setting sun in the sky was like blood, and the ground was filled with countless ravines. It was a complete mess, and there were all kinds of broken limbs and broken bones. Even after countless years, it still gave off an extremely tragic feeling. More importantly, the various martial wills were like towering trees that took root in the void. Until now, they still hadn't been destroyed. Moreover, many of the martial wills made everyone feel a chill in their hearts. It was obvious that the cultivators involved in the battle were at least peak 9 Heavens Supremes. A piece of the stone of time and space? Zheng Weiyuan suddenly looked in a certain direction and said, "It seems like this battle took place during the era of the Supreme Heavenly Venerates." He went forward and picked up a black stone piece the size of a fingernail. He wore a pitiful look after observing it for a while. The stone piece was too damaged. It no longer had any power of time and space. Cultivator Jing, what's this stone? Qin Nan was curious. How did he know the battle took place during the era of the Supreme Highnesses just by looking at the stone piece? Brother Qin, you don't know? Zheng Wuyuan was startled. Friend Qin Nan, the stone of time and space is a special immortal stone. It's produced by the stone of time and space. It contains a wisp of the power of time and space. As for the stone of time and space, it's one of the most mysterious existences in the primary upper realm. Legend says that anyone who obtains the stone of time and space will have a chance to comprehend the power of time and space. Tao. Unfortunately, the stone of time and space was destroyed during the battle between the four Supreme Highnesses. No more stones of time and space were produced since then. The stones of time and space that we have now are from the era of the Supreme Highnesses. Chao Ling explained. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.